Dragon Ball Dark Dimension at the beginning. Chapter 21. The transformations of Saiyans are varied, but they all remain the same. The core is the tail. The Saiyan's original power and the giant ape's power are both tails. In fact, you can transform and practice without a tail, but it will be much easier with a tail than without a tail. In the original plot, Sun Wukong and Vegeta took the God route because they lost their new transformation form without a tail. Instead, they could only wrap the power of God in the transformation of Super Saiyans and further transform into Super Saiyans with God's power and God's energy. Super Saiyan 1 to Super Saiyan 3 are actually the basic transformations of Saiyans, just like the 5-stage transformation of the Frozen Demon Clan. This is a private setting, so I have to explain it. And the subsequent transformations are either transformed through the Saiyan's original power and the giant ape, or they can only take the God route. But Cheng Yu thought that he had a tail and a system beyond the norm. So these two are what he wants to try and master. Back in the present spiritual time house, Cheng Yu shook his head and threw away those unrealistic ideas after thinking it through, and began to concentrate on breaking through himself. Cheng Yu took a deep breath, gathered the energy in his body together, and then gradually gathered it on his back and tail to transform into Super Saiyan 2. Then he gathered the emitted breath into his body. His body began to emit a dazzling light, and his breath became stronger and stronger. With a roar, Cheng Yu gathered all the physical breath on his back and then gathered it on his hair. With the shining golden light, his hair grew to waist, and the golden flames wrapped around his body, and his eyebrows were covered by the flames. Because of the disappearance of eyebrows and the protrusion of facial bones, the whole person looked very fierce. He felt the surging power in his body, and the corners of his mouth rose slightly. Next, he will work harder to practice, master more transformation forms, and become the strongest Saiyan. Cheng Yu did not waste any words and tried his best to adapt to this Super Saiyan 3. Of course, after adapting, he would keep transforming and gathering his breath. Because the breath of the Super Saiyan 3 that had just been broken was too huge, the space in the spirit time house seemed to have been torn and broken. So Cheng Yu also began to adapt to his transformation and then went into the air, otherwise this good place for training would be gone. Cheng Yu didn't know how long he would have to stay, so he could only control himself first. When Cheng Yu was finally able to perfectly adapt to the transformation state and freely control his own energy, he took action without hesitation. He immediately increased the gravity setting of the gravity room and the gravity suit on his body, placing himself in an environment that always maintained high gravity, and then officially started training. The purpose of this is to ensure that his body and mind can adapt to this high-intensity pressure, and constantly challenge himself and break through the limit. Cheng Yu trained hard in a high-gravity environment, and his clothes were soaked with sweat. His muscles were tense, and every movement required great strength. As time passed, Cheng Yu's body gradually adapted to the oppression of high gravity. At this time, he began to try some more complex techniques and tactics. He simulated battle scenes and fought fiercely with virtual opponents. Every attack and defense made him more familiar with the ability of Super Saiyan 3. During the training process, Cheng Yu found that his speed and strength had improved significantly. He was able to easily perform powerful shock waves and even launch multiple Qigong waves in succession. His self-confidence also increased. However, Cheng Yu was not satisfied with this. He knew that to become a truly powerful Saiyan, he needed to constantly explore and break through his limits. So he decided to challenge more difficult training. As time went on, Cheng Yu's body began to sound the alarm. The high-gravity environment and long-term training pushed his body to its limit. He felt exhausted, his breathing was rapid, and sweat fell like rain. Cheng Yu realized that he could not hold on any longer, and his body could no longer withstand the pressure. He struggled to lift the transformation of Super Saiyan 3, and his body instantly lost its powerful support. Cheng Yu panted and collapsed to the ground. His body seemed to be hollowed out and unable to move. However, his heart was full of satisfaction and a sense of accomplishment. Through this hard training, he had a clearer understanding of his strength and found his shortcomings. After a short rest, Cheng Yu slowly stood up. He knew he still had a long way to go. He decided to pay more attention to the load and recovery of the body in future training to avoid getting injured again. He dragged his tired body out of the gravity room, took out the magic beans in the system space and took one by himself, then went outside the gravity room and into the spiritual time house. What greeted him was there was fresh air and bright sunlight outside. Cheng Yu took a deep breath and felt the power of nature. He believed that as long as he persevered, he would be able to become the most powerful Saiyan. I don't know how much time has passed, because I have been staying in the gravity room all the time, even sleeping in the high gravity inside, so Cheng Yu can't see the clock in the spiritual time house. Because of the crazy training during this period, Cheng Yu's control over Super Saiyan 3 and the time of transformation have also increased. Compared with the pain of just transforming and being forced to release it, the burden brought by the transformation will not be as embarrassing as before. As Cheng Yu became more and more proficient in the transformation he mastered, Cheng Yu also found that there was no place to develop in this form. The training method given by the system was also very simple and crude, that is, change the method of gathering qi, and don't burst out the complete qi in an instant. In fact, the principle of Super Saiyan 3 is to burst out all the qi of the body in an instant to achieve amplification. After all, the method given by the system was not in the original plot, so Cheng Yu had to be the pioneer. Cheng Yu first took a fairy bean to restore his physical strength. Then he began to gather the breath and burst it out instantly. With the golden light shining, Cheng Yu also successfully transformed into Super Saiyan 3. After the transformation, Cheng Yu did not intend to stop, but took a deep breath. He clenched his fists and closed his eyes silently. Feeling the huge and vast breath in his body, Cheng Yu clenched his teeth. The golden air waves around Cheng Yu gradually disappeared, and the breath was gathered in Cheng Yu's body and not released. But now, because the transformation of Super Saiyan 3 is maintained by the breath that bursts out instantly, and now it is all collected in the body without bursting, it can be said that the burden on the body is completely unbearable. And our protagonist Cheng Yu clenched his teeth and endured it, and maintained the transformation of Super Saiyan 3. Suddenly Cheng Yu opened his eyes, and then controlled the breath on the tail again to proceed to the next step. When the breath was all on the tail, Cheng Yu immediately howled again, and then endured the burden of the body and gathered the breath little by little in various parts of the body and then slowly mobilized it to release. After the tail had no breath, Cheng Yu also used the air waves emitted by the body. Use the tail to surround the golden air waves around the body. As the golden light shone in the gravity room, the golden light around Cheng Yu gradually surrounded him into a sphere. About a minute later, the golden light completely dissipated. Cheng Yu, whose golden hair reached his waist and eyebrows appeared in the middle of the gravity room. The golden air waves around his body were not as big as before, but instead there was a golden light flashing around his golden tail. That's right, now it is the full power of Super Saiyan 3 cultivated as a reward given by the system. Cheng Yu also exhaled after success. It was really uncomfortable just now, but fortunately it succeeded. It seems that gaining weight is the same now, and the control of breath can be better and more perfectly controlled. And now the attachment to the body is not as big as before, because I can perfectly control my breath. It seems that this transformation also controls the breath more accurately. Cheng Yu carefully felt the changes brought about by the transformation of Super Saiyan 3 full power. In simple terms, the burden is smaller and the breath control is more accurate. Compared with the transformation of ordinary Super Saiyan 3, this form transformation can last longer. Of course, because this form itself can be said to be a wrong transformation, it is now the only development of this form. It can only be said that this form is to find a small error in a pile of errors to modify and balance it. But the basic framework is already wrong, so there is generally no way. Cheng Yu maintained the transformation to conduct adaptive training. Step by step, he improved the areas that needed his attention. And step by step, he made the body's mastery of the transformation more and more complete. Cheng Yu constantly challenged his limits. He set a higher difficulty in the gravity room to accelerate the adaptation to the full power transformation of Super Saiyan 3. Sweat fell like rain, but his eyes were firm. Every attack was carried with unparalleled power, causing the equipment in the gravity room to fall. As time went on, Cheng Yu gradually mastered the skills of using power after transformation. He found that he could not only control his breath freely, but also integrate this powerful force into his moves to double its power. At this time, Cheng Yu decided to try a new skill. He concentrated his energy, gathered all the energy in his hands, and then swung forward with force. A dazzling golden light wave instantly broke through the wall of the gravity room and shot straight into the sky. That's right, it's not the kind of Qigong wave released by Kamehameha. It's the Qigong wave released by Super Saiyan energy, which is more violent and violent. The destructive power is even more amazing, but the disadvantage is that it can only be used when transformed. What name should we give it? How about calling it Dog Bomb? Cheng Yu laughed at himself. After thinking for a long time, he finally decided on a name, Super Energy Wave. That gentleman went in and exceeded the time immediately. Could it be that he forgot the time or couldn't get out? Tiantian said while looking at the Spirit Time House in the Heavenly God Temple. After 2 days of Bobo's introduction, Tiantian also learned some of the situation on Earth and the things in the Heavenly God Temple, so seeing that Cheng Yu had not come out after 2 days, he asked. But just after he finished speaking, before Tiantian could reply, Cheng Yu opened the door of the Spirit Time House and walked out. Wow, Tiantian took office so soon. Is there anything to eat? I'm so hungry. Cheng Yu touched his stomach and said to Mr. Bobo and Tiantian in front of him. Yes, wait a moment, I'll prepare it for you. Bobo walked away immediately. As time passed, Cheng Yu also ate the feast prepared by Bobo in the Heavenly God Temple. Although the taste was not very good, for Cheng Yu, who had eaten fairy beans in the Spirit Time House for 2 years, this was simply a delicacy from the mountains and the sea. After dinner, Cheng Yu moved a recliner from the Tianshan Temple and sat on it. Tiantian and Mr. Bobo also moved a chair over. The 3 of them also sat on the edge of the Tianshan Temple and watched the setting sun. Cheng Yu sighed at the beautiful scenery and said, "Wow, it's really beautiful. I've never seen it before. I was always busy with work before, and I didn't even observe my own body carefully. I haven't seen such a beautiful scenery. Mr. Cheng Yu, didn't you see the sunset in your time and space?" Tiantian was also surprised. In fact, Cheng Yu was talking about his previous life. Because of work, he never felt the people or things around him carefully. It can be said that he missed a lot of things. Now he sighed in response to the situation, but how could Tiantian know? No, in that time and space I was an abandoned Saiyan baby, so I have been living on a deserted planet. Since I was on that planet, I have been training hard to avenge their abandonment. So I have never observed the things around me. Cheng Yu used the same trick to deceive Vegeta to deceive Tiantian. What was your final result, Mr. Cheng Yu? Did you find it back? Tiantian did not dare to continue talking after saying this. It's okay. Later, the Saiyans became extinct. When I had the ability to find it back, everything disappeared. Even the name Cheng Yu was given to myself. Maybe there is me in this world, but I was just a little unlucky and didn't survive when I was abandoned. Cheng Yu said expressionlessly at this time. But he thought in his heart. Program-style deception method, one person keeps silent when he says it. No one can beat my talent, ha 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 ha. Tiantian did not speak either. The 3 of them just watched the setting sun quietly and went to rest. Cheng Yu couldn't sleep in bed, so he said. System, do you think I can go back? I want to go back to my original world and feel the feeling of home. Ding, I don't know that. I just know that I was bound to you when I woke up. I don't know anything else. In short, I am just a program with wisdom. Then do you know family, love, and friendship? Ding, the system has no entity, I don't know. Then system, do you think there is any way to give you an entity so that you can live like a normal person? You can't move and experience life in your current state. I still thank you very much. Ding, it's good that the host doesn't scold the system. In simple terms, according to human knowledge, you are a scumbag. Of course, you care about this system, and this system is still very touched. What? You know all this. Besides, how could I be a scumbag? I haven't even gotten along with girls. Ding, when the host doesn't use the system, he calls it a broken system, and when he needs it, he calls it a system dad. If this is not a two-faced person and a scumbag, what is it? Forget it, go to sleep and have a good rest. Let's talk about tomorrow's things tomorrow. Have a good rest today. Good night, Tongzi. Cheng Yu closed his eyes and rested on the bed after he finished speaking. And in another space that does not belong to this world, a spherical light group also silently said, "Good night," in his heart. After a long time, Cheng Yu's combat power is growing rapidly. Through continuous practice and exercise, his body is getting stronger and stronger. Cheng Yu stayed in the Temple of Heaven for a long time, and from time to time he went to the city on earth to buy some things. It can be said that he lived a completely ordinary life again. System, you said that I have almost practiced Super Saiyan 3 now, so how to practice the transformation after that? And who is stronger, the Super Saiyan God or the ordinary Saiyan blood transformation? Cheng Yu asked suddenly. In fact, after so much practice, Cheng Yu also found that the development of this transformation has reached its limit, and if he wants to continue to practice and become stronger, he can only break through to the next stage or only practice basic combat power. Ding, Super God and blood transformation are basically the same. For example, Super Saiyan IV is a blood transformation, which actually relies on the strength of the physical body to break the shackles, while Super Saiyan God relies on divine power to practice. Cheng Yu also understood the reason after listening to the system's words. One relies on his own strength, and the other relies on external forces. One relies on the flesh, the other relies on energy. Then system, can you sign me in? Give me something better, such as a direct reward for transformation. Ding, congratulations to the host for signing in. Option 1. Combat power by 2 billion, Senzu Beans X 100. Option 2. Skill Artificial Moon, Senzu Beans X 100, conditions and cultivation methods for stimulating blood transformation. Option 2. There is no need to hesitate at all. As the things rewarded by the system were directly instilled into Cheng Yu's mind, Cheng Yu also began to carefully check the so-called cultivation method. After a long time of checking and understanding, he finally understood what transformation was. In fact, the transformation of Saiyans requires stimulating blood first, and then further completing the transformation of giant apes through the form of Super Saiyan 3. However, this transformation is not easy, because it has extremely high requirements for physical strength and breath control. If these two aspects cannot meet the standards, then the transformation cannot be successfully achieved. Only when the body is strong enough and the breath control has reached a certain level, can this difficult transformation be successfully completed. After understanding, Cheng Yu began to ask his system. System, I should be able to try to transform now, will I lose my mind after transforming into a giant ape? Ding, you are questioning this system. The Saiyan blood given by the system is pure Saiyan blood, without any impurities. It is impossible for a giant ape to lose its mind. After listening to the system's words, Cheng Yu began to think, and then seriously said. So that means if, after the Super Saiyan 4 transformation, he masters the power of God, will the combat power increase more? And if the giant ape is transformed into a golden giant ape, then if I directly use the giant ape to transform into a golden giant ape after Super Saiyan 3 is directly superimposed to perform blood transformation, then would it be more awesome? Quote. Ding, host, you can try it, anyway, no one has tried this. If it really works, you should be considered to have opened up a different route. But if your physical strength is not up to standard, you may have a chance of exploding and dying if you force the transformation. Cheng Yu straightened up immediately after hearing this, and said to himself. For this thing, let's do it normally. I don't want to be the first person to transform myself into nothingness. Having stayed in the Temple of Heaven for more than half a year, Cheng Yu witnessed the whole process of the earth in the future world from being in ruins to being rebuilt by people. Today, the earth has roughly restored the life of the past. The once deserted city ruins have been gradually cleaned up and rebuilt. High-rise buildings have been erected again, the streets are neat and orderly, and vehicles shuttle through them. People's faces are filled with expectations and hopes for future life, as if they have forgotten the pain and sorrow of the past. The advancement of science and technology has made resource recycling and reuse possible, green energy is widely used, and the environment is effectively protected. In this process, Cheng Yu not only witnessed the tenacity and wisdom of mankind, but also felt the power of unity and cooperation. He knows that only by working together can the earth be revitalized. And he himself has been growing and improving in this process, and is full of confidence in the future. In addition to practicing in the Temple of Heaven, Cheng Yu also helps people here rebuild their homes on the earth in the future world. Then he will also have time to see Trunks to guide and help him train. During this period, although Cheng Yu was alone in this world, the people here were very enthusiastic, and he also experienced emotions that he could not experience in his previous life. Cheng Yu also lived alone in his previous life. He went to work and slept after work. Friends were very busy at work and rarely contacted each other, and family members rarely contacted each other. And here, maybe the people here have experienced this artificial human crisis, and now it is peaceful. Everyone is full of happy smiles even if they are tired of construction. In this other rest time, Cheng Yu is living a life of training and relaxation. He realized that he had been pursuing something too much before, whether in his previous life or this life. Since he understood the conditions for his blood transformation, he understood that he could not excessively pursue new power and new transformation, otherwise it would affect his life. Cheng Yu often lay on the Tianshan temple and looked up at the stars, recalling the bits and pieces of his previous life, and realized that he had made the same mistake of excessive pursuit of power and neglect of life. He remembered what Master Kame said to his disciples in the original plot: eat well, sleep well, and rest well. This sentence was mentioned both when he first taught his disciples and in the final instructions of the Tournament of Power. Now, Cheng Yu finally understood the deep meaning of this sentence. The body is your own. If the mentality is not good or the body is not fully relaxed for a long time, there will be problems. What is even more incredible is that some people would give up their lives for power. Now, especially after learning that the blood transformation of Super Saiyan IV not only requires a strong physique, but also must have extremely strong basic combat power, and more importantly, it requires a relaxed and comfortable mental power to resist the violent will in the blood, Cheng Yu finally realized this and thus started his unrestrained and free new life. Since knowing this, Cheng Yu has not continued the previous crazy self-exertion training, but instead carried out basic training and lived happily according to the physical condition. Although the training is not as crazy as before, Cheng Yu also specifies the training content and time according to his own special training, and no longer overworks and consumes the body. Of course, when he was bored, in addition to traveling around the earth and helping ordinary earthlings, Cheng Yu also seriously thought about his life and power. What is power used for? Why do I have to pursue that powerful power? What am I for? No one knows these questions, so Cheng Yu casually talked about them with Bobo in the Temple of Heaven that day, but Bobo's answer made Cheng Yu fall into deep thinking. Many people become demons after they have powerful power, and some people become justice. Many people guard and protect. Some people retaliate. Everyone has their own ideas. Of course, the most important thing is to see who you want to be. Cheng Yu went from not understanding and not accepting this sentence to gradually understanding it in his life on earth, and then to empathy, and Cheng Yu also thought about it. Cheng Yu nodded thoughtfully, looking into the distance with a firm gaze. I think I have found the answer. Strength is not just for satisfying selfish desires or pursuing power, but for protecting and guarding those who are important to me. From then on, Cheng Yu practiced harder. He understood that only by constantly improving his strength could he better protect everything he cherished. In a crisis when the Earth was attacked by androids, Trunks stepped forward. He used his powerful strength to fight fiercely with the androids. In the end, he successfully protected the Earth, and became a hero in people's hearts. Cheng Yu knows that the true meaning of power lies in responsibility and commitment. He will continue to move forward and use his power to protect the peace and tranquility of the universe. As the saying goes, if you come, you should make the best of it. Then, the power that Cheng Yu pursues in this world in the future must be justice and hope, not a powerful demon. He is a person who protects the smiles of friends, companions and family. I have to say that the technology in this future world is indeed advanced, and after the disaster, humans have a great sense of crisis. Cheng Yufei sighed as he watched the city being rebuilt from the ruins in the air. It turned out that Cheng Yu had just gone to Bulma's house and was told that the time machine was almost ready, and it could be set off as long as it was debugged. It would take at most a week, and now Cheng Yu also flew back to the Temple of Heaven to continue to rest for a few days. After observing and living in this world for so long, Cheng Yu finally had a sense of belonging. Just like in his previous life, instead of thinking that I was just a passerby, there was no barrier. When the hurdle in his heart was completely crossed, Cheng Yu also sighed, and suddenly Cheng Yu's body breath became calm, and he felt as if the mechanism or shackles of his body were broken. System, what's going on? Why do I suddenly feel like this mechanism is open? Cheng Yu couldn't figure it out, so he opened the final method and summoned the system. Ding, because you have completely integrated into this Dragon Ball universe. After the barrier in your heart disappears, you are marked with the expression and aura of the Dragon Ball universe, which means that you are now a creature of the Dragon Ball universe. Even if someone investigates, they can find your information in the Dragon Ball universe. Is that so? In other words, now that I have come out with memories of my previous life, I am completely a person of the Dragon Ball world. Cheng Yu understood what the system said, and then said, Ding, that's right, the will of the Dragon Ball universe has labeled you, which means that you are a creature of this world view. By the way, the reason why you practiced slowly before was because you didn't have a universe label, and the Dragon Ball universe didn't recognize you, but now your practice speed will be very fast. I said it. In the original plot, Sun Wukong practiced from Super Saiyan 1 to Super Saiyan God in less than a few years. I have been in the Spirit Time House in the real world for almost 10 years before I became Super Saiyan 3. I said why it is unreasonable. Cheng Yu finally understood the reason, but he didn't think too much about this problem. Because he has also completely integrated into the life of the Dragon Ball world. But now that he can practice faster, Cheng Yu is also thinking about whether to repair the blood transformation of Super Saiyan 4 before returning to that world, so that he will basically not encounter any crisis in that world after returning. Thinking about it, anyway, after resting for so long, it's time to move around. Although I have been practicing, it has been very easy during this period, not the hard training before. My body is a little unfamiliar and I feel a little rusty. As I thought about it, I came up with a very good idea. I called Trunks to come along. I can guide his training, and I can also study new transformations. And I can also do some exercises with him when I feel itchy. Kill 3 birds with 1 stone, perfect. He took action immediately and instantly moved to Trunks. Housen explained to Bulma that it would only take 2 days. Trunks also wanted to become stronger, so he agreed without hesitation. But he didn't know what was waiting for him. After picking up Trunks, Cheng Yu immediately took him to the Spirit Time room. 2 years in here should be enough for him to successfully break through the new transformation. If nothing unexpected happens, Trunks should be able to break through as long as he works hard. During the time he lived in this world, Trunks had been training hard since Cheng Yu's last teaching in the Spirit Time room, and he didn't slack off at all. And Cheng Yu also had a relaxed life on Earth during this period, so sometimes he also taught him training appropriately. After his own development and training, he also noticed that he had basically developed all the Super Saiyan 1 transformations that could be developed. And his combat power did not increase as much as before, so after multiple reasons, Trunks followed Cheng Yu without hesitation. In the Spirit Time room, Cheng Yu took out the old 3 things, the gravity room, the gravity suit and the senzu beans, and started the most basic training with Trunks. In fact, this can only be regarded as a warm-up. And the horror is still to come. Bang, bang, bang. The sound of Trunks and Cheng Yu's fists colliding could be heard in the air. The 2 sides fought back and forth, neither giving in, and it was hard to tell who would win for a while. Suddenly, Trunks used his ultimate move, Qigong Wave, a powerful energy beam attacked Cheng Yu. Cheng Yu dodged sideways, then counterattacked. His speed was extremely fast, rushing towards Trunks like lightning. Just as the 2 were about to collide, Cheng Yu dodged Trunks' fist again, and then came behind Trunks and punched Trunks into the ground. Hey, Trunks, is this all your strength? Is this the result of your own training? Be serious. Show your true strength. Do you still want this world to be transformed into its original state in the future? Think about Bulma's original old appearance. Think about Son Gohan's sacrifice for this world. Is this all your strength? Cheng Yuhao questioned Trunks mercilessly in order to stimulate his own strength, because the anger of the Saiyans can enhance their combat effectiveness. Trunks fell to the ground, listening to Cheng Yu's questioning, clenching his fists tightly, recalling the past memories. This big boy who guarded the future world alone shed tears of unwillingness. Cheng Yu saw that the effect was not very good, so he thought for a while and immediately spoke again. What are your tears? Do you know why people in this world sacrifice? Because Son Gohan has a strong talent but he wasted his talent. He is an absolute waste, and you, Trunks, even have to stand behind the waste, you are not even as good as waste. Trunks listened to Cheng Yu's words and stood up. Looking at Cheng Yu in the air, Trunks' fists were bleeding. But he didn't care about his own situation, but shouted loudly. Brother Gohan is not a waste. Neither am I. After speaking, the momentum around Trunks changed instantly, and the surrounding atmosphere became violent at this time, and this atmosphere formed a vortex with Trunks as the center. Trunks didn't care about his own physical condition, but was overwhelmed by anger. Regardless of anything in the outside world, he closed his eyes tightly and recalled everything Son Gohan said and did in his mind. When the aura around Trunks completely formed a vortex with Trunks as the center, Cheng Yu showed a barely perceptible smile in the air. Gohan is not a waste. Ah! Trunks roared, and his tightly closed eyes suddenly opened. With this roar, Trunks' hair began to change. The hair that was originally hanging down gradually stood up, and the color also changed from lavender to gold. At the same time, the surrounding aura vortex gradually disappeared, replaced by golden light surrounding Trunks. These lights tightly wrapped Trunks, forming a sphere. This spherical light kept flickering, emitting powerful energy fluctuations, as if protecting Trunks' entire body. At this moment, the light suddenly disappeared. The golden light around Trunks spread out like waves, and finally gathered around his body. His hair also changed, standing straight back and turning into a dazzling gold. At the same time, flashes of lightning appeared around him, as if adding a mysterious and powerful aura to him. The whole scene was full of science fiction and fantasy atmosphere, which made people shocked. Cheng Yu felt the change in Trunks' breath, his face changed slightly, but he did not retreat. He took a deep breath, exerted all his strength, and attacked Trunks. However, Trunks was extremely fast and easily avoided Cheng Yu's attack. Trunks launched a counterattack, his attack was as fierce as a storm, and Cheng Yu could only support it. In the fierce battle, Trunks gradually gained the upper hand, and his eyes revealed unprecedented anger, determination and confidence. In the end, Trunks won with one move and knocked Cheng Yu to the ground. He looked at Cheng Yu who fell to the ground, and the anger in his heart gradually subsided. However, although Cheng Yu was knocked to the ground, he smiled, stood up, patted the dust on his body and said, "I see you are overwhelmed by the power of anger, so, let me help you recover." Cheng Yu shouted, and a strong aura emanated from his body. His hair stood up and turned golden, and golden arcs shone around him. His eyes also turned golden, revealing infinite power. Trunks felt the change in Cheng Yu and was shocked. He didn't expect Cheng Yu to be able to enter the Super Saiyan 2 state and the energy was so powerful. The two looked at each other, their eyes full of hostility. A fierce battle was about to break out. Cheng Yu and Trunks rushed towards each other at the same time. Their fists collided with the power of destroying the world, and instantly triggered a violent explosion. In the smoke and dust, the two took a few steps back. Trunks widened his eyes and looked at Cheng Yu in disbelief. He thought he was strong enough, but he didn't expect Cheng Yu to be able to share the same strength with him. Cheng Yu sneered, he could feel the power in his body surging, as if it would never run out. He approached Trunks step by step, with unparalleled pressure in every step. Trunks gritted his teeth, he knew he couldn't retreat. He concentrated his energy and improved his combat effectiveness again, ready to meet Cheng Yu's attack. At this moment, Cheng Yu opposite Trunks disappeared, which made Trunks obviously panic at this moment, but the enemy would not give you this momentary opportunity. Cheng Yu flashed to Trunks and punched him with a punch. This punch was directly hit at Trunks with the energy of Super Saiyan 2. Trunks obviously didn't react because of the panic just now. When he just reacted and felt the majestic energy, it was too late. Trunks was directly hit by this punch and slid on the ground. The power of this punch was obviously quite strong. Trunks fell down directly after being knocked back by this punch. Because the previous battle consumed a lot of energy, his body had reached its limit, and he was hit by Cheng Yuquan's full force. Trunks' condition at this time can be said to be worse. He felt weak all over, as if all his strength was drained. Every breath became extremely difficult, and his lungs hurt as if they were hit by a heavy hammer. His vision began to blur, and then he fainted and fell to the ground on the spot. Trunks, who was experiencing three good things coming together, couldn't bear so much joy, and fell to the ground, fainting with a large amount of blood at the corner of his mouth. Seeing that Trunks might not wake up in a short time because of the transformation, Cheng Yu casually fed him a senzu bean and helped him lie on the other side. Cheng Yu himself flew for a long time and stopped when he could no longer see Trunks. Because he didn't know when Trunks would wake up, Cheng Yu was ready to try to transform into Super Saiyan 4. Cheng Yu stood up with his head held high, his eyes full of determination. He took a deep breath and began to mobilize the vast energy in his body. Cheng Yu put his hands together and gathered all the energy in his body into his palms. A dazzling light gradually condensed in his hands. As he continued to inject energy, the light became stronger and stronger, and finally formed a moon emitting soft light. When the moon was high in the sky, Cheng Yu looked up and stared at it, with a strange light flashing in his eyes. In an instant, his body began to change dramatically. His body continued to expand, his muscles bulged rapidly, and his bones made a crackling sound. The originally neat clothes were torn, revealing a furry body. His face also began to distort and his fangs gradually grew out. After a while, Cheng Yu turned into a huge and majestic gorilla. He beat his chest and roared deafeningly, as if announcing his powerful strength to the whole world. The gorilla in Cheng Yu's incarnation was majestic in the moonlight, but his clear eyes showed that he had not lost his mind. He stood in place, concentrating again, preparing for a more amazing transformation. Cheng Yu began to mobilize the energy of the Super Saiyan in his body, which rushed through his huge body. At first, the hair on his body trembled slightly, as if responding to this powerful force. As the energy continued to gather, the hair on the gorilla's body gradually glowed with golden light, which spread rapidly from shallow to deep. Cheng Yu's body also expanded further in the light, becoming larger and more powerful. When the light completely covered his body, Cheng Yu successfully transformed into a golden giant ape. His golden hair shone brightly in the moonlight, like an unshakable golden mountain. His eyes emitted a fiery light, and his powerful breath made the surrounding air tremble. After Cheng Yu successfully transformed into a golden giant ape, the bloody and brutal scene suddenly emerged in his mind. Those cruel scenes hit his consciousness like a tide, trying to control his mind. However, Cheng Yu relied on his strong mental power to fight against it tenaciously. He built a solid defense line deep in his heart to prevent this violent energy from breaking through the shackles of reason. His breathing became heavy and rapid, and his huge body trembled slightly, but his eyes revealed a firm light. Every time the bloody picture in his mind tried to gain the upper hand, Cheng Yu concentrated more and suppressed it with force. In this fierce mental battle, Cheng Yu's forehead was covered with beads of sweat, but he always gritted his teeth and did not succumb to the evil power. Gradually, the violent energy began to slowly subside under the control of his powerful mental power, and Cheng Yu finally regained control of his body and consciousness. Cheng Yu tried hard to control the huge body of the golden giant ape. After a short period of adaptation, he immediately took the next step. He concentrated his energy and tried to take the vast and boundless breaths surrounding his body into his body bit by bit. I saw that the powerful breath that originally permeated around him, as if summoned, slowly gathered towards his body and gradually merged into it. After completing this step, Cheng Yu did not stop at all, and then began to mobilize all the energy in his body to gather it all to the tail. The energy flowed rapidly in his body and rushed towards the direction of the tail. The thick tail began to tremble slightly, as if to welcome this surging powerful force. The golden light surged like a tide, quickly wrapped Cheng Yu in it, forming a dazzling sphere. Under the cover of this light, Cheng Yu's huge golden giant ape body began to undergo wonderful changes. His body gradually shrank in the light, his originally sturdy limbs slowly became slender, and his huge body gradually shrank. The golden hair also became tighter as his body shrank, and the light flickered between the hair, like a dream. Throughout the process, the golden light continued to shine, and the powerful energy fluctuations caused the surrounding space to slightly distort. Cheng Yu was constantly transforming in the baptism of this light, as if he was about to usher in a new form. The golden light spread out like gorgeous fireworks and disappeared into the endless void. However, Cheng Yu was still surrounded by a mysterious red light, as if it was a shield protecting him. In the air, the electricity crisscrossed like a silver snake, illuminating the entire space. In this thrilling atmosphere, the red light gradually dissipated. When the light completely faded, Cheng Yu's figure finally appeared clearly. Yes, it was Cheng Yu who had transformed into Super Saiyan 4. His black hair became more messy and longer, and was draped over his shoulders wantonly, like an unruly storm. His chest and palms were covered with red body hair, which seemed like burning flames, showing the original wildness and power of the Saiyans. Cheng Yu stood tall and exuded unparalleled domineering aura, as if he was a god of war from ancient times, ready to meet all challenges. Cheng Yu slowly closed his eyes and immersed himself in the feeling of the vast energy in his body. His expression was solemn and focused, as if he was communicating silently with this powerful force. Time seemed to stand still at this moment, and everything around became extremely quiet, with only Cheng Yu's breathing and the subtle sound of energy surging in his body. After a moment, Cheng Yu suddenly opened his eyes full of determination and confidence. He began to move his body carefully, feeling every change brought about by the new transformation. He gently raised his arms, feeling the smoothness of the power transmitted in his muscles. He slightly bent his knees, experiencing the lightness and agility of his body. Every movement was done very carefully, not missing any subtle feeling. In the process of adaptation, Cheng Yu's face gradually showed a satisfied smile. He knew that this new transformation would give him more powerful strength to overcome the many difficulties ahead. Trunks slowly woke up, and when his eyes fell on Cheng Yu's new form, his eyes widened instantly, his face full of disbelief, and he froze in place. Cheng Yu looked at Trunks' astonishment, smiled slightly, and said, "Trunks, don't be so surprised. This is my new transformation, which represents the primitive and wild power of the Saiyans." Trunks opened his mouth slightly when he heard this, and it took him a long time to recover. He stammered, This power is amazing, and this form is so handsome. Cheng Yu, you really impressed me." Cheng Yu crossed his arms and said confidently, "With this power, I will definitely be able to defeat all powerful enemies." Trunks nodded, and his fighting spirit was rekindled in his eyes. He said, "I can definitely transform into this, right? Of course, you just need to be good, practice step by step to become stronger, and one day you will reach this point. So come on. By the way, do you remember before you fainted?" Cheng Yu asked. Trunks looked confused and bewildered at Cheng Yu. "Why don't I remember anything?" Cheng Yu looked serious and slowly explained. "Trunks, in the previous battle, in order to stimulate your potential and let you break through yourself, I deliberately angered you. I didn't expect that you really broke through and transformed into Super Saiyan 2 because of anger. But I was a little heavy at the time, and this transformation put too much burden on your body, so you fainted." Trunks listened to Cheng Yu's explanation, thinking for a moment, and said after a while, "So that's the case, then I understand, thank you." "Hey, don't rush to thank me, I said some very unpleasant words at that time, I hope you don't mind. And now, see if you can still transform into Super Saiyan 2. You can try to get familiar with that transformation first, and then go to practice." Although Cheng Yu might be saying it to apologize, he still hugged his wrists in front of his chest for the sake of face and said proudly. Trunks didn't take Cheng Yu's words that angered him to heart. His eyes became focused and firm. Following Cheng Yu's instructions, he began to carefully sense the energy of Super Saiyan 2 in his body. He closed his eyes, calmed down, and concentrated on exploring the powerful force hidden deep in his body. At first, the energy was looming and elusive, but Trunks was not impatient at all and patiently tried to establish a connection with it. Slowly, he seemed to touch the edge of the energy and could feel its power and heat. Trunks took a deep breath, concentrated his mind, and tried to mobilize this energy. His forehead gradually oozes fine beads of sweat, and his body trembles slightly, but he still persists. Finally, the energy of Super Saiyan 2 began to flow slowly under his guidance, and a faint light emanated from Trunks' body. As the surrounding golden light flashed, lightning crackled around Trunks, and his hair stood up and turned golden. Trunks successfully transformed into Super Saiyan 2. "Hey, since you can transform, I'll tell you clearly that these transformations may be controlled by emotions due to the Saiyan bloodline, that is, out of control. So you have to suppress the anger and adapt to this transformation." Cheng Yu said and then seemed to remember something, so he spoke again. By the way, you can first cancel the transformation and then suppress the anger and try to transform, and finally when the anger can be completely controlled, adapt to the transformation. Okay, you adapt first, I also have to adapt to my transformation, I haven't tried it yet, you woke up. Trunks sighed at Cheng Yu's back, and then unexpectedly he smiled after canceling the transformation. Thank you, maybe I should really thank him. Forget it, I'll try my own transformation first. Trunks talked to himself, and then began to practice his mental power again, so as not to be overwhelmed by anger and controlled by emotions. After Cheng Yu adapted to the transformation of Super Saiyan 4, he immediately moved to Trunks and said, "Hey, Trunks, do you want to try to fight me? You can also try your strength in the battle." "Okay, then, come on." Trunks said without thinking, looking at Cheng Yu who transformed into Super Saiyan 4 with great interest. After Trunks successfully mobilized the energy of Super Saiyan 2, the light on his body became more and more dazzling. He suddenly opened his eyes full of confidence and fighting spirit, and said to Cheng Yu, "Cheng Yu, come on, don't hold back, let me see how you look in this form." Cheng Yu smiled slightly and responded, "Come on, Trunks." Trunks flashed in an instant, rushed towards Cheng Yu like lightning, and swung a powerful punch. Cheng Yu was not in a hurry, easily dodged sideways, and raised his leg to counterattack. Trunks reacted quickly and blocked with his arms. The powerful impact caused the surrounding ground to crack instantly. The two of them fought back and forth, punching and kicking each other, and every collision produced a powerful energy wave, and the air around them was buzzing. Their speed was as fast as a phantom, making it hard to keep up with the eyes. Trunks roared, and his power burst out again. His attack speed and strength increased significantly, with whistling fists and heavy kicks. Cheng Yu also began to deal with it seriously, not daring to be careless. He flexibly turned and moved, cleverly dissolving Trunks' fierce attack. Cheng Yu put his hands together, gathered energy, and pushed forward a powerful energy wave. Trunks crossed his hands in front of his chest and took the blow hard. The powerful energy impact made his feet scratch deep marks on the ground. But he did not retreat, but used the force to jump back a distance. "Cheng Yu, take my move." Trunks shouted, and all the energy in his body gathered in his palm, forming a huge energy ball, and threw it towards Cheng Yu. Wherever the energy ball passed, the space seemed to be distorted. Seeing this, Cheng Yu danced his hands quickly, drawing a complex energy shield to resist this powerful attack. The collision of energy produced a huge explosion, and smoke and dust filled the air. However, the battle between the two did not stop. They continued to fight fiercely in the smoke, both eager to break through their limits in this duel and show more powerful strength. In the fierce battle, Trunks' attack became more and more fierce, and Cheng Yu realized that conventional responses could not win. Cheng Yu took a deep breath, and his muscles tightened instantly, and a strong breath gushed out of his body. His hair stood up, and the black light flashed with golden light, and his eyes became extremely sharp. "Trunks, take it!" Cheng Yu shouted, and the energy of Super Saiyan 4 exploded completely. The surrounding space was distorted by this powerful force, and the wind was howling, and sand and stones were flying. Cheng Yu's speed increased to the extreme, and he appeared in front of Trunks in an instant, swinging a powerful fist. Trunks tried to resist, but the power of Super Saiyan 4 was too strong, and he was knocked back by this punch. Cheng Yu took advantage of the victory and launched a series of attacks like a storm. Trunks tried his best to defend, but still couldn't resist this violent attack. In the end, Cheng Yu gathered all the energy in his body and sent out a devastating energy wave. Trunks could no longer support under this powerful attack and was knocked to the ground. After the battle, Cheng Yu slowly put away his energy, walked to Trunks, stretched out his hand to help him up, and said, "Trunks, you are already very strong, keep working hard, we will become stronger together." After the battle, although Trunks was defeated, the fighting spirit in his eyes was even stronger. Cheng Yu looked at him and said with a smile, "Trunks, I will guide you to practice and take your strength to a higher level." Trunks nodded excitedly, his eyes full of expectation, and said eagerly, "Cheng Yu, I will definitely work hard, I want to be as strong as you." Cheng Yu first asked Trunks to calm down and feel the flow of energy in his body. Close your eyes, put aside distracting thoughts, and use your heart to feel every change in energy. Remember, make your heart like a calm lake. Only in this way can you clearly feel the subtle fluctuations of energy. Cheng Yu said patiently on the side. Trunks followed Cheng Yu's guidance and tried to calm his mind. After a while, he opened his eyes and said a little frustrated, Cheng Yu, it's still difficult for me to concentrate. I am always affected by external interference. Cheng Yu patted his shoulder and encouraged him, don't be discouraged. This takes time and constant practice. Think about it, when you are in battle, only by keeping your heart calm can you do it quickly, make accurate judgments and reactions. Try again, I believe you can do it. Quote. Trunks took a deep breath, closed his eyes again, and tried hard. When Trunks had a preliminary grasp of the perception of energy, Cheng Yu began to teach him how to control the output of energy. Power is not released blindly, but must be accurately controlled and sent and received freely. You see, it's like this. Cheng Yu demonstrated in person, condensing the energy in the palm of his hand, and then gently waved it, and a precise energy wave hit the target in the distance. Trunks observed carefully, and then began to practice repeatedly. However, the energy waves he sent out were either too strong or too weak. He said anxiously, Cheng Yu, this is so difficult, I always can't control the strength. Quote. Cheng Yu comforted him and said, don't worry, cultivation requires patience and persistence. You have to feel the gathering and flow of energy in your body, and then adjust the output amount through consciousness. Try a few more times, you will find the feeling. Quote. During the training process, Trunks sometimes made mistakes due to impatience, and Cheng Yu always corrected and encouraged him in time. Trunks, haste makes waste. Training is a gradual process, and every mistake is an opportunity for growth. Believe that you can do it. Quote. Trunks gritted his teeth and said firmly, Cheng Yu, I will not give up, I will definitely master this power. As time went by, under Cheng Yu's careful guidance, Trunks became more and more proficient in controlling energy, and his strength was steadily improving. After completing their training, Cheng Yu and Trunks came to Bulma's house exhausted. As soon as they entered the door, they smelled the aroma of food. Bulma had already prepared a sumptuous dinner. Everyone sat around the dining table and enjoyed the food happily. After the meal, Bulma smiled and said to the two of them, Cheng Yu, Trunks, I have good news for you. The time machine can be started. Cheng Yu, you can go back to your time and space. Cheng Yu stood up, bowed deeply to Bulma, and said gratefully, Bulma, thank you for your care during this period, and thank you for your efforts for the time machine. Bulma waved her hand quickly and said, don't be so polite, Cheng Yu. I want to thank you for coming to this world and helping to solve the artificial human crisis so that everyone can live a peaceful life. When Cheng Yu and Trunks boarded the time machine, the lights inside the machine flickered, and various instruments made a slight buzzing sound. Trunks looked around curiously, while Cheng Yu had a solemn expression, with both the expectation of returning to his own world and a trace of worry about the unknown. With a strong light and energy fluctuations, the time machine started. They felt as if their bodies were pulled by an invisible force, the surrounding scene began to become blurred, and time and space seemed to be distorted. After an unknown amount of time, the light gradually disappeared and everything returned to calm. Cheng Yu and Trunks walked out of the time machine and found that they had come to the time and space where Cheng Yu was. The world in front of them made them feel both familiar and strange. Cheng Yu took a deep breath and said, Trunks, this is the world of my time and space. Trunks looked at the surrounding environment and nodded, what are your plans for the future? Come with me to deal with the androids. You can go, but you can't. Because you have to explain your origins and where we went to everyone. But I won't go with you. If I directly deal with the androids, do you think they will continue to hone and become stronger? And you can go with them now, but you should try not to take action or expose your strength, so that they can hone themselves in the crisis. Cheng Yu also explained the reason and tactfully rejected Trunks' proposal. Okay, I will. Are you going home now? Yes, I have been training in your world for so long, and I can rest well to ensure the best condition of my body when I come back. I will go back first, and you can notify me if there is a crisis. After that, Cheng Yu flew away, and Trunks flew in another direction to find Sun Wukong and others. Trunks told everyone in detail that he came from another time and space, and his experience with Cheng Yu in that time and space. After listening to it, everyone's expression became serious. In this case, we can't sit and wait for death. We must take the initiative to attack before the androids appear and nip the danger in the bud. Vegeta clenched his fists and said with a firm look. Sun Wukong also nodded in agreement. Yes, we must be fully prepared and can't let them destroy our world. Krillin frowned and said worriedly, but we don't know enough about these androids. I don't know how strong they are. Trunks said quickly. In my time and space, Cheng Yu and I have fought with them. I have a certain understanding of some of their moves and weaknesses. I can tell you this information. Everyone began to discuss the battle plan enthusiastically, and everyone was full of fighting spirit and determination. Then we will set off now. We can't give the androids any chance. Gohan said loudly. So, under the leadership of Trunks, everyone headed towards the place where the androids might appear, ready for a fierce battle. Just as everyone was about to set off, Sun Wukong suddenly covered his chest, his face turned pale, and his body was shaky. Wukong! Everyone exclaimed. Trunks hurriedly said, this is a heart attack. The medicine I gave Gohan last time should be able to relieve it. Everyone hurriedly found the medicine from Gohan and quickly gave it to Sun Wukong. After taking the medicine, Sun Wukong's condition improved slightly, but he was still very weak and fell into a coma. Leave Goku to me to take care of him, you guys go to deal with the androids. Said Master Kame. Everyone knew that time was running out and they couldn't delay any longer. Grandpa Kame, I'll leave Goku to you. Said Gohan. Don't worry, you must be careful. Master Kame warned. So, with firm faith, the others ran towards the direction of the androids, ready to meet this difficult battle. While Trunks and the Z-Warriors were destroying the androids, our Cheng Yu was resting at home. System, let me ask you something. If Son Goku and Vegeta merge, who is stronger, me or Vegeta? After all, Cheng Yu is a senior Dragon Ball fan, and he is also a pure Saiyan, so he asked this question that is not a question. Ding, the warriors of Vegeta and Son Goku merged are 1 + 1 greater than 2, and you are 2, so do you understand? Cheng Yu was stunned when he heard the system say that he was 2. Although he could understand this sentence, it was not okay for you to say that I was 2. After calming down, he asked again. System, who do you think has stronger potential between me and the 2 combined warriors? Or do you have any way to let me surpass the combined warriors of the 2 cheating protagonists? Ding, the combined warrior is definitely greater than the single warrior. Because it has twice the potential and combat power of the 2 of them. If the combined warrior is just one person, then this person must be the strongest single warrior. After hearing what the system said, Cheng Yu completely understood, that is to say, if the combined warrior is a single person, no matter the potential or combat power, ordinary people can't catch up. I can't hold it anymore, I can't hold it anymore. I practiced so hard just to be the strongest person, but this combined warrior can still surpass me. Forget it, the protagonist is worthy of being the protagonist, I'd better practice honestly. Don't be the head of a chicken, don't be the tail of a phoenix. Cheng Yu ended the tug of war with the system and returned home. After a simple meal, he came to the practice room he set up. In the practice room, there are various training equipment. Cheng Yu first carried out a series of physical training, push-ups, sit-ups, squats, each movement was done standardly and powerfully, and sweat kept dripping from his forehead. After completing the physical training, Cheng Yu began to meditate, adjust his breathing, concentrate his mind, feel the flow of energy in his body, and try to guide and gather it. Although such a practice life and daily life are simple, they make Cheng Yu feel fulfilled and satisfied. He knows that only by continuous efforts can he protect everything he cherishes in future battles. Gradually, Cheng Yu also discovered a problem. With the rapid growth of combat power, how to perfectly control the huge energy and breath of the body has become the biggest problem. For example, in battle, a wave of energy is needed to launch energy bombs. If you can't control it perfectly, you will waste your energy and breath. In order to perfectly control the huge and vast energy and breath of his body, Cheng Yu found a quiet valley and decided to calm down and practice here. In the valley, the breeze was blowing and the leaves were rustling. Cheng Yu sat on the ground, closed his eyes, and began to adjust his breathing. He first took a deep breath, letting the fresh air fill his entire chest, and then slowly exhaled to expel all the turbid air in his body. Repeating this, his breathing gradually became steady and long. Cheng Yu carefully felt the surging energy in his body and tried to establish a connection with it. At first, these energies were like wild horses that were unbridled and difficult to tame. But he was not impatient, but kept his inner peace and guided them little by little. He imagined that his body was a huge container, and the energy was the water flow in it. What he had to do was to build channels so that these water flows could flow according to his wishes instead of colliding wantonly. In the process of cultivation, Cheng Yu encountered countless difficulties and setbacks. Sometimes, the energy would suddenly get out of control and run around in his body, causing bursts of severe pain. But he gritted his teeth and persevered with his strong will. As time went on, Cheng Yu gradually became more adept at controlling the energy. He could gather the energy in his palms and distribute it evenly to every corner of his body. The control of his breath became more and more exquisite, and between breaths, he seemed to be integrated with the surrounding natural environment. After a long and arduous practice, Cheng Yu was finally able to perfectly control the vast energy and breath in his body, and was fully prepared for future challenges. At this time when Cheng Yu was proficient in controlling his breath and using energy, Trunks and his group also successfully found the base of the androids. With the help of Trunks, the Z warriors found Dr. Gero's base and destroyed it. But there was an unexpected situation that the two androids had completely different personalities from the androids in the future world. The androids in this world did not destroy the world after they were born, but rescued their companions first. Others suggested destroying the androids at the first time, but Trunks did not destroy them because of Cheng Yu's instructions. Instead, he paid attention to their every move and observed them. As soon as the androids in this world appeared, they showed the difference from the description of the future world. After they were born, they rescued their companions at the first time, without destroying everywhere, and did not attack the protagonist group. Vegeta and others were full of anger after listening to the tragic situation of the future world described by Trunks, and they did not hesitate to attack the androids at the first time. Vegeta rushed to the front, and he burst out with a strong breath all over his body, roaring and attacking the androids. However, the androids in this world reacted extremely quickly and easily dodged Vegeta's attack. Then, the androids launched a counterattack. Their speed was as fast as lightning, and their strength was amazing. Vegeta was careless for a moment, and the androids caught his flaw and knocked him to the ground with a heavy blow. He fell heavily to the ground, raising a cloud of dust. Vegeta struggled to get up, but the blow just now left him seriously injured. Seeing this, the others were all shocked, but they did not retreat, but instead strengthened their determination to defeat the androids. After defeating Vegeta, Android 17 did not have the slightest smugness on his face. He just glanced at everyone indifferently and prepared to turn around and leave. Stop! Vegeta shouted angrily, his eyes burning with anger. Number 17 stopped, turned his head slightly, and said, "I don't want to get entangled with you, today is over." Krillin shouted anxiously, "How can you just leave like this?" Number 16 said at this time, "Let him go, our purpose is not to kill. Our goal is Sun Wukong." Number 18 also echoed, "Yes, we just want to live according to our own wishes." Everyone looked at each other, full of reluctance, but also puzzled by the attitudes of number 16 and No. 18. Just when number 17 was about to disappear from everyone's sight, Vegeta stood up and said, "Do you think you can just walk away like this? This is just the beginning." Number 17 did not respond, and his figure gradually walked away. Vegeta slowly stood up with the help of everyone, gritted his teeth and said, "I will definitely get this account back." Everyone looked at the direction where the android left, and secretly vowed in their hearts that they must become stronger and completely solve the threat of the android. The Z warriors decided to return to Kame House with a heavy heart. Along the way, everyone was silent, and the atmosphere was very depressing. After arriving at Kame House, everyone sat together and discussed the next countermeasures. And Vegeta was full of reluctance to lose to the android. Without saying a word, he turned around and left Kame House, looking for a more difficult training environment alone, vowing to avenge his previous shame and defeat the android. Vegeta is still so competitive. Krillin shook his head helplessly. But it is also his persistence that makes him stronger and stronger. Tien Shinhan said. No matter what, we can't relax, we have to improve our strength as soon as possible. Piccolo said with a serious expression. Everyone nodded, and their fighting spirit was ignited in their hearts, ready to meet more difficult challenges in the future. After a high-intensity training, Cheng Yu dragged his tired body back to his home. He fell on the bed and soon fell into a deep sleep. This sleep, he slept very sweetly and didn't wake up until noon the next day. After a simple meal, Cheng Yu adjusted his state and set off for Kame House. When he arrived, the protagonists and Trunks had been waiting there for a long time. Cheng Yu, you are finally here. Trunks greeted him with a smile. Cheng Yu scratched his head embarrassedly. Sorry, I kept you waiting for a long time. Piccolo stepped forward and patted Cheng Yu on the shoulder. It's okay, you can fight better after a good rest. Everyone sat together and began to discuss the next plan. Trunks said, the strength of the androids should not be underestimated. We must come up with more effective countermeasures. Cheng Yu nodded in agreement. Yes, the training during this period has given me some new insights, which may be helpful to us. Everyone was talking at the same time, and the Kame House was filled with heated discussions. Listen to me, the androids in this world are different from the androids in the future world, don't you know? The androids in this world are actually kind, and of course there will be a person named Cell soon. You have to destroy that person. Cheng Yu also briefly explained the situation. Everyone sat together, their eyes focused on Cheng Yu. Cheng Yu cleared his throat and began to explain the origin of Cell to everyone. Everyone, Cell is an extremely dangerous existence. He was created by Dr. Gero, who collected the cells of many powerful people. Cheng Yu's expression was serious and his voice was low. These cells include those of the familiar Sun Wukong, Vegeta, and even Frieza. This gives Cell a variety of powerful abilities and combat skills. Cheng Yu's eyes revealed a trace of worry. Moreover, Cell evolves himself by constantly absorbing energy. He initially appears in an incomplete form, but as time goes by, he will become more and more powerful and more difficult to deal with. Cheng Yu's speech speed gradually increased, and everyone's expression became more and more solemn. At some point in the future, Cell will hold a so-called Cell game to determine the fate of the Earth. We must be fully prepared before that and improve our strength to have a chance to defeat him. Cheng Yu finished speaking and breathed a sigh of relief. Everyone fell into deep thought, knowing that they were about to face an unprecedented huge challenge. Actually, what you need to do now is to train well. Those 3 androids were actually created for the purpose of destroying Sun Wukong. By the way, number 17 and number 18 are actually humans in nature. They were just modified. Cheng Yu explained to everyone. Hey, this is different from the future world, Mr. Cheng Yu. What's going on? Trunks also said. Actually, that is just equivalent to a parallel world, so it just develops a little faster. There are many other differences. What you need to do now is to train well. Trunks, let's go. After Cheng Yu finished speaking, he forcibly pulled Trunks back to his home. Cheng Yu looked at Trunks' puzzled expression and said seriously, Trunks, Cell needs to devour the 3 androids No. 16, number 17 and number 18 to become a perfect body. Trunks frowned and asked, why these 3? Cheng Yu patiently explained, as far as I know, Dr. Gero set such special conditions when creating Cell. No. 16, number 17 and number 18 have special energy and structure. Only by integrating their power can Cell reach the state of perfection and gain the most powerful strength. Trunks clenched his fists with a serious expression, then we must not let Cell succeed. Cheng Yu looked at Trunks seriously and said slowly, Trunks, the androids in this world are very different from those in the future world. In the future, after the androids appear, they will start a large-scale destruction and killing. Their purpose seems to be simple destruction. But in this world, the androids don't destroy anything, and they have their own thoughts. Trunks frowned and listened carefully. By the way, what you should do is not to destroy the androids with everyone, but to stop Cell from devouring the androids to become a perfect body. The androids in this world are also kind, don't you know that? I won't tell you anything else. Remember to let them hone themselves, instead of destroying them alone. Trunks nodded, and understood what Cheng Yu meant, and then said. So do you know when Cell will appear? It should be when Son Goku wakes up. I don't know anything else. In fact, you should practice with them. I'm just here to explain these issues to you. I shouldn't be involved in these things. Cheng Yu said helplessly and spread his hands. By the way, seriously, don't destroy those 3 androids. They didn't do anything wrong, right? It's Dr. Jero's fault. The brother and sister were ordinary people before, so after Cell's incident, I can still go find those 2 to practice together. I'm bored in this world anyway. Trunks smiled helplessly after hearing what Cheng Yu said, and then said, well, I'll go and see everyone's training. Mr. Cheng Yu is leaving. After Trunks left, Cheng Yu didn't plan to do anything, but felt very bored. So he moved a recliner to the yard to bask in the sun. System, it's been so long, isn't it time to sign in for something good for me? Ding, sign in option 1. Basic combat power by 2 billion, Senzu Beans X100. Sign in option 2. Blood sublimation, Senzu Beans X100. Cheng Yu didn't react for a while after listening to the choices given by the system. When he came to his senses, he immediately asked, what is blood sublimation, system? Ding, you are now an ordinary Saiyan with purer blood like Sun Wukong, and the system's reward is to sublimate your blood directly, which means that after sublimation, your potential will increase exponentially, and your blood transformation may be different. Cheng Yu began to hesitate after listening to the system's explanation. Who knows what changes will happen if the transformation is different? If it becomes weak directly, it will be a big loss. Forget it, give it a try, the bicycle will become a motorcycle. System, give me option 2. As Cheng Yu finished speaking, the system immediately began to sublimate Cheng Yu's blood. At that moment, Cheng Yu only felt a heat flow entering his body and then spreading from his back and tail to his whole body. When this process was over, Cheng Yu turned over from the chair and rushed to the mirror, then observed his appearance. Cheng Yu observed his normal state and found that there was no big change. Instead, he found that his pupils changed from black to light red. The tail also changed completely from brown to light red. System, what's going on? The color of the pupils and tail is what has changed. Quote. Ding, this is the effect of blood sublimation. Your blood gradually becomes pure and will not be mixed with other things. Potential increases with the change of blood. Oh, by the way, host, you can try to transform and feel it. Cheng Yu listened to the system's words and closed his eyes and mobilized the power of the Saiyan blood from his body. With a flash of red light, Cheng Yu transformed into Super Saiyan 4. Then Cheng Yu opened his eyes and observed his transformation first. He found that his pupils, tail and body hair were red, as if there was no difference from the original. Cheng Yu closed his eyes again and carefully felt the changes in his body. Suddenly, through Cheng Yu's discovery, the original explosion and brutality of the Saiyan in his body disappeared, and now he can control his emotions freely. So that's what happened. Now there is no need to control emotions. You just need to adapt to the transformation and enhance your combat effectiveness. The emotional side effects of the transformation disappear, the burden on the body is smaller, and the original energy control of the Saiyan can be more precise. This is simply amazing. Quote. Cheng Yu said to himself, and then he immediately became interested and went to the gravity room at home to try out the current transformation. Another period of time passed. As expected, Cheng Yu had been observing everyone's every move on Earth these days, and Cell also came here from Trunks' future time and space in a time machine. After taking the heart disease medicine brought by Trunks from the future world, Sun Wukong fell into a coma. Everyone surrounded him, worried and anxiously waiting for him to wake up. Time passed by minute, and finally, in everyone's expectation, Sun Wukong slowly opened his eyes. His eyes were a little confused at first, but soon he regained his former clarity and firmness. Wukong, you finally woke up. Everyone cheered in unison, with joyful smiles on their faces. Sun Wukong smiled weakly. I made everyone worried. Gohan hurried forward. Dad, how do you feel? Sun Wukong sat up and moved his body. Much better, thanks to the medicine brought by Trunks. Vegeta crossed his arms and said, Humph, now that you are awake, you should recover quickly. The enemy will not wait for us. Sun Wukong nodded. Don't worry, I will recover as soon as possible and fight with you. On a quiet afternoon, the sun shone softly on the earth. However, this tranquility was soon broken by a sudden evil breath. After successfully devouring No. 16, Cell exuded a creepy and terrifying breath. At this time, Vegeta, Sun Wukong, Gohan and others were practicing hard. Suddenly, they almost felt this strange, extremely powerful and evil breath at the same time. This breath seemed to carry an invisible pressure, which instantly shrouded their hearts in a layer of haze. What is this breath? So evil, so disturbing. Vegeta frowned first, his sharp eyes revealed an unprecedented solemnity. He stopped the training action in progress and clenched his fists unconsciously. Sun Wukong also came back to his senses from the state of training. His expression was serious and focused. He said, "No matter what it is, this breath is so strong and evil that it will definitely bring a huge threat. We must go and see it." Gohan followed closely and said firmly, "Dad, I will go too." Without the slightest hesitation, everyone put down their training and ran towards the direction where the breath came from at the fastest speed. Along the way, they were in a very heavy mood, constantly guessing the source of this evil breath and the possible crisis in their hearts. When they finally arrived at the scene, they were shocked by the scene in front of them. They saw Cell's huge and twisted body standing in the ruins, with a smug and arrogant smile on his face. At his feet, there were the shattered remains of number 16 after it was devoured. The scene was shocking. Cell. Vegeta could no longer suppress his anger. He roared to the sky, and the breath of his whole body instantly erupted like a volcano. The powerful energy fluctuations made the surrounding air seem to burn. Sun Wukong's eyes were also full of anger and determination. He stared at Cell closely, secretly mobilizing the power in his body, preparing for the upcoming fierce battle. Gohan was enraged by the tragic scene in front of him. He gritted his teeth, clenched his fists, and his body trembled slightly. In fact, Trunks told everyone about Cell's origin and purpose, so everyone knew that Cell could not be allowed to become a complete body. Now the other two androids are missing, and there is a wreckage on the ground, so everyone knows that this is Cell. Vegeta rushed towards Cell with a determined look on his face. The breath of his whole body surged wildly, and his eyes were full of desire for battle and persistence in victory. "Cell, today is your end." Vegeta roared, punched out instantly, and attacked Cell with a sharp sound of wind. Cell just smiled contemptuously and easily dodged Vegeta's attack. Vegeta was not discouraged, and followed with a series of punches and kicks, each of which contained his powerful strength. However, Cell's speed and reaction far exceeded Vegeta's imagination. Cell saw the opportunity and hit back fiercely, hitting Vegeta's abdomen with a punch. Vegeta groaned in pain and flew backwards. But Vegeta quickly adjusted his body shape and rushed up again. He kept releasing energy waves, trying to hurt Cell. But Cell was like a ghost, freely shuttling through Vegeta's attacks without any damage. As the battle continued, Vegeta's physical strength gradually consumed, and his attacks became a little slow. Cell seized this opportunity and launched a fierce counterattack. His fists and kicks fell on Vegeta like a storm. Vegeta tried his best to resist, but still couldn't block Cell's powerful force. In the end, Vegeta was kicked out by Cell and fell heavily to the ground. He wanted to struggle to get up, but found that he had no strength left. He could only look at Cell unwillingly, his eyes full of anger and helplessness. Just as Vegeta fell to the ground and Cell was triumphant, a figure rushed over like lightning. Trunks appeared instantly, his eyes were cold and his whole body exuded a powerful aura. "Cell, your evil deeds stop here." Trunks shouted angrily, and then punched fiercely, and the powerful force directly knocked Cell out. Trunks did not give Cell any chance to breathe. He turned around and looked at everyone, saying, "Everyone follow me." After that, Trunks released energy, wrapped Vegeta, Son Goku, Gohan and others in it, and then turned into a ray of light and flew towards the direction of the Temple of Heaven. In the air, everyone only felt the whistling of the wind in their ears, and the surrounding scenes retreated rapidly. Trunks tried his best to lead everyone forward at the fastest speed. Finally, they successfully arrived at the Temple of Heaven. Trunks gently put everyone down. Everyone looked a little tired and solemn, but their eyes were still full of determination and indomitable. "You have also seen how strong Cell is, so what you have to do is to train well and then defeat him. Don't you know the artificial people in this world? They are not the kind of people who destroy the world, but Cell is different. He is a killing machine created by Dr. Gero using everyone's cells, so you have to train well." Cheng Yu also moved over at this time and said in front of everyone. HMPH, that Cell, I will definitely defeat him with my own strength. Vegeta crossed his arms, turned his head to one side, and said proudly. In fact, I can defeat Cell at any time, but what if I am not there? You will have to rely on your own strength to defeat the enemy. And Vegeta, can you change your Tsunere? No one here will look down on you. You will be very annoying if you keep being so Tsunere. Cheng Yu teased Vegeta with a smile, and he was also a common Pua for everyone. By the way, God, is there a spiritual time house in the God Temple where they can go in for training? I took Trunks there in Trunks' world. And, Trunks, you can now completely explain your origins to them. Cheng Yu asked the old god, then walked to the side and sat down again. Suddenly Cheng Yu seemed to be thinking about something, so he turned to Piccolo and said. You seem to be one with the god. If you are not complete, it seems that no matter how you practice, you can't surpass those two Saiyans. I think you should discuss it with the god. Cheng Yu didn't care after he finished speaking, and sat down to rest. The god thought for a while, and then began to explain the use of the spirit time room to everyone, and then took everyone to the spirit time room. Everyone also decided on the order. The arrogant Prince Vegeta and Trunks went in first, followed by Son Goku and Son Gohan, and then Krillin, Tien Shinhan and others in turn. And Piccolo also sat next to Cheng Yu, blowing the wind, looking at the sky and thinking. Piccolo would worry that he would lose his self-awareness after the fusion, and would no longer be an independent individual, and from then on he could only exist as a brand new consciousness that merged with the old god. He will also worry about the change in his personality after the fusion, fearing that his original decisiveness, perseverance and intuition about fighting will be affected by the personality characteristics of the old god, thus becoming hesitant in the battle. Piccolo may also worry about the problem of controlling the power after the fusion. If he cannot skillfully control the powerful power of the new fusion, he will fail at the critical moment, not only unable to protect everyone, but also may bring danger to his partners. Furthermore, he will worry whether the fusion with the old god can really solve the current crisis. If he still cannot compete with the enemy after the fusion, then this fusion becomes meaningless, and it may even be a waste of his original existence. In addition, Piccolo may also think about the impact of the fusion on his partners, whether they can accept a brand new self, and whether the tacit understanding and emotions between him and his partners will change as a result. The old god is also thinking about it. The old god may worry that his existence will be weakened in the fusion, and the wisdom and experience he has accumulated cannot be fully utilized in the new individual. He may be concerned that some of Piccolo's impulsiveness and radicalism will affect their judgment and actions after the fusion, leading to wrong decisions. The old god may also be afraid that the fusion will not achieve the expected results, and will not effectively enhance the strength to deal with the crisis, but will make the situation worse. He may also worry that his fusion with Piccolo will be imperfect, produce unpredictable side effects, and even cause unexpected harm to the whole world. In addition, the old god may be concerned that the duties and principles of the gods he has adhered to in the past will not be able to continue to implement them after the fusion with Piccolo, thus violating his mission. Cheng Yu looked at the concerns that were difficult to conceal on the faces of the old god and Piccolo, and slowly walked forward. His eyes were gentle and firm. He looked at the old god and said, Old god, you don't have to worry about your wisdom and experience being buried. Your fusion with Piccolo is like gathering bright stars into a more dazzling galaxy. Your accumulation will become a powerful foundation for the new individual and guide the direction of progress. Then, Cheng Yu turned to Piccolo and said, Pico, your decisiveness and perseverance are extremely precious qualities. The joining of the old god will not weaken them, but will make you calmer and wiser when facing difficulties. You must believe that this fusion is not about who is assimilated by whom, but about the advantages. Complement each other and grow together. Your goal is the same, that is, to protect this world and everyone. Cheng Yu's voice is full of power. After the fusion, you will have unprecedented strength and wisdom, enough to cope with any challenge. Don't be bound by concerns, take this step bravely, for justice, for hope. And old god, if you are worried about the position of god, I can go to Namek to find someone to replace you, and although Piccolo used to be the great demon King Piccolo, isn't he also working hard to protect the earth? The reason why I asked you to merge is also for Piccolo can grow faster in the future. Piccolo now has a heart of justice, and we are his companions, right? Quote. After saying this, Cheng Yu looked at Piccolo and Tien Shen, and Piccolo smiled rarely. You are right, maybe. There may be many crises. I hope you can be a good person. And no longer the big devil. Come on, kid, merge with me and recreate the most talented Namekian of the year. I hope you can make good use of your abilities. Tien Shen sighed and made up his mind. As Cheng Yu said, Piccolo is indeed incomplete now. For the present and even future crises, he will have to take this path one day. Don't worry, old man. You are such a sentimental guy. Quote. Pico was also arrogant for a moment, but still walked to the side of the old god. In a quiet but tense open space, Piccolo and the old god stood opposite each other with solemn expressions. The sky was covered with dark clouds, as if it was also solemn for the major event that was about to happen. Pico clenched his teeth tightly and clenched his fists. His inner entanglement and worry about the unknown were clearly revealed on his face. The old god closed his eyes and tried to calm his mood. He knew that this fusion was related to the fate of the world. When they finally made up their minds, they burst out the energy in their bodies at the same time. Dazzling light instantly shot out from their bodies, like two bright stars. The light became more and more intense, completely wrapping their bodies, forming two huge light cocoons. Pico and the old god began to take heavy steps, approaching each other little by little. As the distance shortened, the two light cocoons began to touch and merge with each other, and the light intertwined to form a gorgeous and dazzling light curtain. In the light curtain, their bodies gradually became blurred and their outlines became blurred. Unclear. Piccolo's green skin and old god's white robe loomed in the light, as if they were in a fierce fusion and struggle. Powerful energy fluctuations spread around them, with howling winds and flying sand and rocks. The surrounding trees were shaken violently by this force, and leaves fell one after another. In the interweaving of this light and energy, Piccolo and old god's figures gradually overlapped, and their bodies began to merge into one. During this process, the light kept flickering and jumping, as if they were making the final run in an adjustment. Finally, when the light gradually converged, a brand new figure appeared in front of everyone. He was tall, with clear muscle lines, and exuded a shocking and powerful aura. His skin color showed a unique green-green color, which combined the characteristics of Piccolo and Old God. After the fusion, Piccolo slowly opened his eyes, with both Piccolo's perseverance and courage in his eyes, and Old God's calmness and wisdom. He took a deep breath, feeling the new and surging power in his body, and his heart was full of determination and courage for the future. On a dark and dreary day, Cell, the terrifying creature created by Dr. Gero, was searching for the key to his evolution into a complete body, the android siblings number 17 and No. 18. Cell's hideous body moved quickly on the barren land, his eyes full of greed and eagerness. He knew that only by devouring these two androids could he achieve the ultimate evolution and become an invincible existence. The siblings number 17 and number 18 were resting in a dense forest at this time. Number 17 was tall, handsome but a little cold, while number 18 was beautiful and charming, with firmness and courage in her eyes. They didn't know that danger was approaching quietly. With his keen perception, Cell gradually approached the location of the siblings. When he finally appeared in front of the siblings, number 17 and number 18 were instantly alert. You can't escape, just become a part of me. Cell made a low and terrifying voice. Number 17 glared at him, you ugly monster, you want to attack us. He rushed forward and punched Cell. Cell easily dodged No 17's attack and hit back, knocking number 17 back a few steps. Seeing this, number 18 also joined the battle. She was very fast and appeared behind Cell in an instant, launching a fierce attack. However, Cell's strength was far beyond their imagination. His body was so hard that no matter how the siblings attacked, they could not cause substantial damage to him. Cell saw the opportunity, grabbed No 17's arm, and threw him hard to the ground. Number 18 was anxious and rushed to Cell desperately to save his brother. But how could Cell let her succeed? He turned around and kicked number 18 in the abdomen, and number 18 fell to the ground in pain. Stop struggling in vain, you are destined to be my prey. Cell smiled triumphantly and approached the siblings step by step. Number 17 got up from the ground with difficulty. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, his eyes full of anger and indomitable spirit. Even if we die, we will not let you succeed. The siblings fought side by side again, their attacks were more fierce and their moves were more fierce. But Cell was always at ease and easily resolved every attack from them. As the battle continued, the physical strength of number 17 and number 18 gradually depleted. Cell saw the opportunity and suddenly opened his mouth wide, releasing a strong suction force, trying to suck number 17 into his body. Number 17 fought hard against the suction force, but his strength seemed so small in front of Cell. In the end, he was sucked over by Cell little by little. Brother! Number 18 shouted loudly and rushed towards Cell, trying to stop him. But it was too late, number 17 was completely swallowed by Cell. Cell's body emitted a strong light, and his aura instantly became stronger. Number 18 was filled with grief and anger, and she launched a final attack on Cell regardless of everything. But Cell at this time was no longer the same as before. He easily blocked No 18's attack and released suction again, sucking number 18 into his body. When number 18 was also swallowed, Cell's body burst out with an extremely powerful energy fluctuation. His form began to change, his body became more perfect, his muscle lines became clearer, and his aura became extremely terrifying. Cell finally became a complete body. He opened his arms and roared to the sky, as if announcing his invincibility to the whole world. At this time, Sun Wukong and others in the distance felt this powerful energy fluctuation, and they knew that a more difficult battle was coming. Cell felt the surging power in his body, and his heart was full of confidence and arrogance. He decided to challenge Sun Wukong and others to let them see how powerful he was. He flashed and rushed towards the direction of Sun Wukong and others. Wherever he passed, there was a strong wind and flying dust. On the other side, Sun Wukong and others were ready to meet Cell's challenge. They knew that this would be a life and death battle related to the fate of the earth. Because Sun Wukong and others were in the Temple of Heaven, Cell searched everywhere but to no avail. This evil monster did not give up, and he came up with a crazier plan. With his powerful strength, Cell controlled the signal of the TV station. On the TV screen, his hideous and terrifying face appeared in front of the audience all over the world. Listen up, stupid humans. Cell's voice was full of threats and arrogance. I, Cell, will hold a Cell martial arts tournament. If you so-called strong men cannot defeat me in the competition, then I will destroy the world. His words were like a bombshell, causing great panic around the world. People watched the TV in horror, their hearts filled with despair and fear. Sharu continued, I will give you time to prepare and summon your strongest warriors. But remember, this is your last chance, don't try to resist, otherwise the consequences will be disastrous. Quote. After that, the TV screen returned to normal, but Cell's threat was deeply imprinted in everyone's heart. The world fell into chaos, and people prayed for heroes to appear and save this world in danger. When Sun Wukong and others learned the news in the Temple of Heaven, they knew that they had a heavy responsibility and began to practice more diligently to prepare for this battle that concerns the survival of the world. After learning that Cell was going to hold a martial arts tournament and threatened to destroy the world, Sun Wukong and others immediately plunged into intense preparations. Sun Wukong knew that Cell was powerful. He knew that it might be difficult to win by simply relying on the improvement of strength, so he focused more on the practice of his own fighting skills and state of mind. In a secluded corner of the Temple of Heaven, he carried out high-intensity training day after day, constantly trying to use his strength more exquisitely, and striving to achieve the ultimate precision and power with every punch and every kick. Vegeta, relying on his strong self-esteem and unyielding spirit, frantically carried out special training for strength. He constantly broke through his limits, squeezing every bit of potential in his body, with only one belief in his heart, to defeat Cell in the martial arts tournament and prove that he is the strongest. Under the guidance of Piccolo, Son Gohan strives to tap his hidden potential. Piccolo inspires Gohan's fighting spirit and strength through various rigorous training methods. Although Gohan is still young, he knows that he has a heavy responsibility, so he never complains during training and exceeds his limits again and again. Krillin and Tien Shinhan are also not slack at all. They learn from each other and discuss the improvement of fighting skills together. The two constantly improve their moves and strive to play the greatest role in the martial arts tournament. Although Yamcha is relatively weak, he also actively participates in training and strives to improve his strength, hoping to contribute to the team in the battle. During the preparation period, everyone not only focuses on improving their personal strength, but also often conducts team running and tactical discussions. They encourage and support each other and do their best for the common goal of defeating Cell in the Cell Martial Arts Tournament and saving the world. In the mysterious spiritual time house, Vegeta devoted himself to crazy practice. The speed of time in the time house is different from that in the outside world, giving Vegeta ample opportunities to practice. There is an unyielding flame burning in his eyes, every effort is accompanied by a roar, and every breakthrough is accompanied by sweat. After countless attempts and challenges, Vegeta finally successfully cultivated the complete form of Super Saiyan 1. In this form, the increase in power consumption and the burden on the body reach a perfect balance. Vegeta felt the surging power in his body, full of confidence, and couldn't wait for a moment. He couldn't wait to verify his practice results. He immediately rushed out of the spiritual time house and went straight to fight Cell. His steps were firm and powerful, and he had only one thought in his mind, to defeat Cell and prove his strength. At this time, Vegeta seemed to be a god of war returning from hell, with endless anger and determination, ready to release all his power on the battlefield. Vegeta was determined to prove that he was the strongest Saiyan. He ignored the persuasion of Sun Wukong and others and resolutely went to Cell. On the battlefield, Vegeta was shining with golden light, and the powerful aura of a complete Super Saiyan was revealed. He glared at Cell, his eyes full of provocation and confidence. Cell looked relaxed, and did not seem to take Vegeta seriously. The battle broke out instantly, and Vegeta rushed towards Cell like a golden lightning, with whistling fists and heavy legs. However, Cell's strength was far beyond Vegeta's imagination. Cell easily dodged Vegeta's attacks, and every counterattack made Vegeta unable to resist. Although Vegeta tried his best and his moves were fierce, he seemed so powerless in front of Cell. As the battle continued, Vegeta gradually showed fatigue and his attacks were no longer so swift. But Cell was always at ease. He saw the right time and hit Vegeta hard, knocking him out. Vegeta fell heavily to the ground, with blood flowing from the corner of his mouth. But he still struggled to stand up and wanted to continue fighting. Cell smiled and said, "You are too weak, Vegeta." Surprisingly, Cell was very confident and thought that Vegeta was no longer a threat to him. He chose to let Vegeta go instead of killing him. Vegeta looked at Cell's departing back, his heart full of reluctance and humiliation. Sun Wukong was just about to enter the spirit time chamber to practice, and at this time Cheng Yuzhen, who was next to him, came out and said, "Okay, Vegeta should be defeated. Now I will tell you too about the evolutionary root of the Saiyans and how you should practice." When Sun Wukong and Sun Gohan were about to step into the spirit time chamber, Cheng Yu solemnly explained the evolutionary root and practice methods of the Saiyans to the father and son. Goku, Gohan, the evolution of Saiyans is not achieved overnight. First of all, the basic form of Super Saiyan is the initial burst of power, but this is far from enough. To continuously improve, you have to break through the dual limits of body and mind. Cheng Yu looked serious. The advancement of Super Saiyan I requires you to control the power more finely, so that every bit of power can be fully utilized, rather than simply relying on brute force. Later, Super Saiyan 2, this requires you to feel and break through the shackles of that layer of power at the moment of anger or extreme emotional outburst. But remember, you can't rely on emotions, but learn to actively control the awakening of this power. Cheng Yu stood in front of Sun Wukong, took a deep breath, and instantly burst out with a powerful momentum. His hair stood up, turning from black to gold, the golden light shone brightly, and the electric light wandered around his body. Then, Cheng Yu's breath rose again, the golden hair became more upright and sharp, the aura around him became stronger, and the wind rose because of him. His eyes became extremely sharp, as if they could penetrate everything. The muscles on his body bulged slightly, containing endless power. "Wukong, this is the form of Super Saiyan 2. Cheng Yu said loudly, his voice full of strength and confidence. Cheng Yu looked at Son Goku and Son Gohan with a serious face, and said seriously, "Wukong, Gohan, you must remember that controlling emotions is crucial to transforming into a Super Saiyan. Anger can be used as an opportunity to trigger the transformation, but you must not be swayed by emotions, otherwise you will lose your mind and affect your judgment in battle. At present, your primary task is to practice Super Saiyan 1 to the complete form. Only when you have consolidated your strength on this basis can you try to break through to Super Saiyan 2. This process requires great patience and perseverance, and you must not rush for success. In the process of practice, either constantly feel the flow of power in your body, adjust your breath, and make the use of power more comfortable. When the perfect state of Super Saiyan 1 reaches the ultimate control, you can try to stimulate deeper power under anger or extreme concentration to break through to the realm of Super Saiyan 2. Quote. Remember, every breakthrough is a challenge to yourself. I believe you can do it. Sun Wukong also understood, and said thank you with a serious face, and walked into the spiritual time room with Sun Wuhan resolutely. Looking at the backs of the father and son, Cheng Yu sighed slightly, and didn't know if this group of people would collapse if they knew in advance that the original plot was the same. Cheng Yu's arrival caused a lot of changes, so when Cheng Yu flapped his butterfly wings, no one knew whether there would be any unexpected situations in the future. Trunks, don't be sad, Vegeta's personality is like this, just let him suffer a little. Quote. Cheng Yu walked to Trunks and comforted him. Yes, Vegeta's personality is indeed like this, so don't worry. Piccolo also agreed. Cheng Yu was bored in the Temple of Heaven. When he saw Piccolo standing beside him, he suddenly felt the urge to have some fun. Piccolo, come on, let's have some fun. Cheng Yu said loudly, his eyes full of anticipation and excitement. Piccolo was slightly stunned, then raised his mouth corners, revealing a confident smile. Great, I'm just worried about having nothing to do. The two stood opposite each other, and the atmosphere instantly became tense. The air around them seemed to be frozen because of the battle that was about to break out. Piccolo and Cheng Yu stood opposite each other, and when the situation was tense, Krillin, Tien Shinhan and others also hurried over. They gathered around, their eyes full of curiosity and expectation. This is a rare scene. Krillin said excitedly. Tien Shinhan also nodded slightly. Yes, since Cheng Yu eliminated Frieza, I haven't seen him fight again. I really don't know how strong he is. Everyone whispered to each other and talked a lot. They couldn't wait to see this wonderful battle to get a glimpse of Cheng Yu's mysterious and powerful strength. Cheng Yu and Piccolo stood opposite each other, and their eyes were full of determination and fighting spirit. The air around them seemed to solidify because of the battle that was about to break out. Krillin, Tien Shinhan and others watched nervously on the side, not daring to breathe. Piccolo took the lead in launching an attack. He flashed and appeared in front of Cheng Yu in an instant. His right fist hit Cheng Yu's face with a sharp fist wind. Cheng Yu was not in a hurry and easily dodged the attack by slightly turning sideways. Piccolo missed the attack and quickly changed his moves, sweeping his left leg across Cheng Yu's waist. Cheng Yu reacted very quickly and raised his arm to block. With a bang, the two of them took a few steps back. Piccolo steadied himself, put his hands together, muttered something, and instantly blew out a powerful energy wave from his mouth. Cheng Yu's eyes condensed, and his hands danced quickly in front of him, condensing an energy shield to block all the energy waves. The collision of energy produced dazzling light and huge impact, which made everyone watching the battle narrow their eyes. Cheng Yu, who blocked the attack, shouted and rushed towards Piccolo like lightning. He was so fast that he was in front of Piccolo in an instant and punched hard. Piccolo crossed his arms to defend himself, but Cheng Yu's power was too strong, and Piccolo was knocked back dozens of meters. Piccolo steadied himself and his face became solemn. He took a deep breath, and his aura began to rise continuously, and his green skin glowed. He opened his hands, and the surrounding energy quickly gathered towards him, forming a huge energy ball. Cheng Yu, take my move. Piccolo roared and pushed the energy ball towards Cheng Yu. Seeing this, Cheng Yu put his hands together, and a powerful energy gathered in his hands. He pushed the energy out with force and collided with Piccolo's energy ball. For a moment, the light was shining, and the powerful energy impact made the entire Tianshan temple tremble slightly. After a stalemate, Cheng Yu suddenly exerted force, and his energy gradually suppressed Piccolo's energy ball. Piccolo gritted his teeth and tried his best to maintain the output of the energy ball, but in the end he was unable to resist Cheng Yu's powerful force. The energy ball was defeated by Cheng Yu, and the aftermath of the explosion caused Piccolo to suffer a considerable impact. However, Piccolo did not give up. He rushed forward again and started a close combat with Cheng Yu. The two people's fists and feet intersected, as fast as a phantom, and every collision made a dull sound. Cheng Yu saw a flaw in Piccolo and kicked Piccolo in the abdomen. Piccolo groaned and flew backwards. But he flipped in the air and landed steadily on the ground. At this time, Piccolo was already out of breath, but Cheng Yu seemed to be at ease. But Cheng Yu did not underestimate Piccolo. He knew that Piccolo still had great potential that had not yet been fully developed. Piccolo shouted loudly, and his aura surged again. His forehead was bulging with veins, and his eyes were full of determination. He gathered all his strength in his hands, ready to launch the final attack. Cheng Yu was also on guard, with energy surging all over his body, ready to meet Piccolo's full-strength attack. Piccolo pushed his hands forward, and a huge energy beam shot towards Cheng Yu. Cheng Yu put his hands together, and a huge energy vortex appeared in front of him, gradually swallowing Piccolo's attack. When the energy beam was completely swallowed, Cheng Yu waved his hands, and a powerful energy rushed towards Piccolo. Piccolo was unable to dodge, and was hit by this energy and fell heavily to the ground. At this point in the battle, Piccolo was exhausted and could no longer stand up to fight. Cheng Yu walked to Piccolo, stretched out his hand and pulled him up. Piccolo, you are very strong, this battle is exciting. Cheng Yu said with a smile. Piccolo wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. You are really good, I still lost. Krillin, Tien Shinhan and others applauded and cheered for this wonderful battle. Cheng Yu reached out and pulled up Piccolo who was lying on the ground, his face with a gentle smile on his face. He took out a senzu bean from his arms, handed it to Piccolo, and said, "Come, eat this, it will help you recover quickly." Piccolo took the senzu bean and put it into his mouth without hesitation. In an instant, a strong vitality spread in his body, and the injuries on his body healed at a speed visible to the naked eye, and the consumed physical strength was quickly restored. Piccolo felt the changes in his body, looked at Cheng Yu, and said sincerely, "Cheng Yu, thank you, this sparring has benefited me a lot." Cheng Yu patted Piccolo on the shoulder and said, "You're welcome, your strength also makes me look at you with new eyes, and I look forward to you becoming stronger in the future." Piccolo nodded heavily, with a firm light in his eyes. "By the way, who else is willing to spar with me?" Cheng Yu looked at the people watching the battle on the other side and said. Upon hearing this, everyone scattered. Maybe it was because they thought Piccolo had failed, so they didn't think they could defeat Piccolo, so no one came to fight. Cheng Yu wanted to improve his mental power, and he thought of Piccolo who was meditating. So he walked quickly to Piccolo and whispered, "Piccolo, I want to ask you how to meditate to cultivate mental power. Can you teach me?" Piccolo slowly opened his eyes, looked at Cheng Yu with a sincere face, nodded slightly and said, "Of course, but this requires you to have enough patience and concentration." Piccolo adjusted his sitting posture, motioned Cheng Yu to sit down, and then began to explain. First, you have to relax every muscle in your body and make your breathing steady and deep. Close your eyes, eliminate all external interference, and focus your attention on one point in your heart. Cheng Yu sat down according to Piccolo's instructions and tried to relax himself. Piccolo continued, "Imagine a quiet lake in your mind, the water is clear and calm. When distracting thoughts appear, don't resist them, but let them disappear naturally like watching ripples on the lake." Cheng Yu tried to do it, but at the beginning, his thoughts always drifted away involuntarily. Piccolo said patiently, "Don't worry, this is normal. Slowly, you will find that feeling of concentration." Under Piccolo's careful guidance, Cheng Yu gradually entered the state and began his journey of spiritual power training. The spiritual world of the Saiyans seems to be an endless dark abyss, filled with extreme emotions such as anger burning like a raging fire and tyranny raging like a storm. These emotions intertwine and collide with each other, forming an almost unstoppable force, like a ferocious beast, ready to tear anyone who tries to break in and control them into pieces. For Cheng Yu, finding a trace of tranquility in such a chaotic and violent spiritual world and achieving control over emotions is as difficult as climbing a steep and precipitous peak with bare hands. However, there was no retreat or fear in Cheng Yu's eyes. He knew that this was a difficult challenge related to self-growth and breakthrough, but his firm heart was ready to face all difficulties. He resolutely stepped into this spiritual chaos, relying on his existing strong spiritual power, like a fearless warrior, bravely facing the surging emotional wave. When the Saiyan's primitive and violent emotions swept towards him like a surging tsunami, Chengyu was not panicked at all. He closed his eyes tightly, concentrated all his mental strength, and built an indestructible barrier deep in his heart. This barrier was like a towering mountain, and no matter how fiercely the waves of emotions hit, it could not shake it at all. Every time the emotions came madly, it was like a ferocious beast with infinite power, rushing towards Chengyu with the momentum of destroying everything. The angry flames seemed to burn his soul, and the violent power seemed to tear his will apart. But Chengyu gritted his teeth, clenched his fists tightly, and the muscles of his whole body trembled slightly because of extreme tension. He kept shouting in his heart, "I can't be defeated. I will definitely win." In this long and painful confrontation, Chengyu's mental strength was gradually consumed, and his forehead was covered with beads of sweat, which kept sliding down his cheeks. His breathing became rapid and heavy, and every breath seemed to be under great pressure. But he never gave up. With his tenacious perseverance and firm belief, he held on to the spiritual defense line. Gradually, the originally unstoppable tyrannical force seemed to weaken. Chengyu keenly captured this subtle change. He knew that this was his chance to fight back. He seized this rare opportunity and began to try to calm his heart, which had been turned upside down. He slowly relaxed his tense body, took a deep breath, and then exhaled slowly. He imagined himself in a quiet and beautiful forest, with the breeze blowing gently and the leaves rustling, as if it was a beautiful melody played by nature. The sunlight shone through the gaps in the dense leaves and sprinkled on the ground, forming patches of golden light, like a dreamlike fairyland. He focused on this beautiful imagination and let his breathing blend with the rhythm of the forest. Every breath seemed to be able to inhale the fresh air, full of vitality and energy. His heartbeat gradually returned to its normal rhythm, no longer as rapid and disordered as before. The originally restless heart was like being gently soothed by a pair of gentle and powerful hands, and slowly calmed down. In this difficult process, Chengyu always maintained a firm belief and tenacious will. He knew that this was just the beginning, and the road ahead was still long, and there would be more challenges waiting for him. But he was not afraid, because he believed that as long as he persevered, he would be able to completely control the Saiyan's violent emotions and make his spiritual world strong and calm. Step by step, Chengyu firmly moved forward on this thorny road, moving forward towards the goal of controlling emotions. No matter how many difficulties and obstacles there were ahead, he was determined to conquer them. Chengyu finally calmed his heart. At this moment, he seemed to be in a quiet harbor, finally getting rid of the previous stormy emotional impact. He slowly opened his eyes, revealing unprecedented determination and concentration in his eyes. Chengyu knew that this was just a beginning. The real challenge was how to continuously control his emotions and further cultivate his spiritual power. This was destined to be a road full of hardships and difficulties, but he was fully prepared. He took a deep breath, closed his eyes again, and began to try to deepen his consciousness into the deepest part of his heart. In that mysterious and unknown area, he carefully touched the emotional fluctuations that had not yet completely subsided, like soothing a frightened little animal. Every subtle ups and downs of emotions were like ripples on a calm lake, and Chengyu sensed them with extraordinary sensitivity. When anger surged like a surging tide, he was no longer completely swept away by it as before. Instead of losing his mind, he looked at the emotion with a calm bystander's attitude. He tried to understand the source of anger, embrace it with inner peace, and let the power of anger slowly recede like a tide. The process of cultivating spiritual power is not smooth sailing, and there will often be fatigue and confusion like a haze. Sometimes, he will feel extremely tired after a long period of concentration, as if a string stretched to the limit may break at any time. But Chengyu never gave up. He told himself that every setback is an opportunity for growth, and every fatigue is a prelude to an upcoming breakthrough. He imagined that his spiritual world was a vast and boundless starry sky, and each twinkling star represented an emotion or a spiritual power. He tried to arrange these stars according to his wishes to form an orderly and harmonious pattern. He concentrated his mind, gathered the stars of joy into a warm light group, turned the sad stars into a quiet nebula, and turned the stars of fear into brave meteors. This process requires extreme concentration and patience. If you are distracted, the stars will return to chaos. In countless days and nights of practice, Cheng Yu constantly challenges his limits. When his emotions are about to get out of control, he will quickly adjust his breathing to regain his inner balance. When his mental strength is about to run out, he will persist with his tenacious will and tap into the potential hidden deep inside. As time goes by, Cheng Yu can control the ups and downs of his emotions more freely. Anger can no longer easily influence his judgment, sadness can no longer make him fall into despair, and joy can no longer make him lose himself. His mental strength gradually increases in constant practice, and his heart becomes extremely tough, like steel that has been tempered 1,000 times, and can stand firm no matter what kind of wind and rain it faces. At the same time that Cheng Yu was concentrating on cultivating his spiritual power, Trunks was in a state of high alert. Suddenly, he keenly noticed the shocking situation that Vegeta was defeated by Cell. Without the slightest hesitation, Trunks flashed across the sky like a flash of lightning, rushing towards the direction of Vegeta. The wind whistled in his ears, but it could not stop his firm determination. Soon, Trunks found Vegeta lying on the ground, wounded. His eyes were full of concern and anxiety, and he quickly leaned over and gently picked up Vegeta. Trunks flew at high speed, taking Vegeta to the Temple of the Gods. His heart was full of anger towards Cell, and he was also worried about Vegeta's injuries. Along the way, Trunks kept speeding up, wishing to reach the destination immediately so that Vegeta could receive timely treatment and recuperation. Cheng Yu noticed Vegeta's very weak breath, so he opened his eyes and saw Vegeta covered in injuries. Cheng Yu took out a Senzu bean from the system space and gave it to Trunks. Trunks took it and helped Vegeta take it. Seeing that Vegeta had recovered, Cheng Yu was about to start his mouth cannon again. Hey, Vegeta, I told you to practice hard and go when you are confident enough. Tell me, why do you have to be that hero? Humph. I was careless this time. I will definitely defeat him. Vegeta said with his arms crossed and a proud face. Do you believe it or not, Trunks is stronger than you now. Cheng Yu began to tease Vegeta. How is it possible? Impossible. Vegeta was obviously panicked for a moment, but still pretended to be calm. Trunks, show him how you can transform twice. Cheng Yu nodded slightly to Trunks. Trunks also understood that his father needed a little stimulation, so he didn't waste any words. Trunks stood in front of Vegeta with a firm and confident look. He took a deep breath and prepared to show Vegeta the transformation of Super Saiyan 1. Trunks' aura suddenly surged, and golden flames erupted from his body. His hair instantly stood up and turned golden, and his eyes were full of sharp light. His muscles bulged slightly, exuding a strong sense of power. This is the form of Super Saiyan 1. Trunks said loudly. Vegeta nodded slightly, with scrutiny and expectation in his eyes. Then, Trunks decided to show the transformation of Super Saiyan 2. He concentrated again, and the aura on his body became more turbulent, and the golden light became more dazzling. Trunks' hair became more upright, and there were arcs flashing around him. The powerful energy fluctuations made the surrounding air seem to solidify. This is Super Saiyan 2. Trunks' voice was full of pride and excitement. Okay, now you believe it, right? Next, I will show you the real power of the Saiyans. Watch out. Cheng Yu smiled slightly, and agreed in his heart, it's time for me to pretend, get ready to tremble. Cheng Yu stood in front of Vegeta with a serious face, ready to show him his Super Saiyan transformation. Cheng Yu closed his eyes and took a deep breath. In an instant, his aura suddenly burst out, and the golden flame suddenly gushed out of his body. His hair stood up instantly and turned into a dazzling golden color. This is the form of Super Saiyan 1. Cheng Yu opened his eyes, with a sharp light flashing in his eyes, and the powerful power fluctuations made the surrounding ground tremble slightly. Vegeta widened his eyes and showed a surprised expression. Cheng Yu did not stop and increased his strength again. His aura was more turbulent, the light was more intense, his hair became longer and straighter, and there was a faint electric current flashing around him. This is the form of Super Saiyan 2. Vegeta couldn't help but take a breath. However, Cheng Yu continued. He roared, and his aura changed dramatically again. His hair became longer, reaching his waist. There was a mysterious blue in the golden light. This was the form of Super Saiyan 3. At this moment, Cheng Yu exuded such pressure that Vegeta had difficulty breathing. Watch out, the next thing is the real power of the Saiyans. It is also your future goal. This is the real power of the Saiyan race. Cheng Yu took a deep breath, as if he wanted to take the energy of the whole world into his chest. Then, he slowly closed his eyes, his face solemn and resolute. Suddenly, he opened his mouth and let out a deafening roar. This roar seemed to be able to penetrate the clouds and reach the end of the universe. At the same time, his aura was like a surging wave, rapidly rising to the extreme. The surrounding space was distorted by this powerful aura. Then, Cheng Yu began to stimulate the primitive and wild power of the Saiyans in his body. In an instant, a dazzling red light burst out from his body, instantly enveloping him completely. In this light, Cheng Yu's waist-length golden hair, which was originally Super Saiyan 3, gradually shrank back, and the color changed from golden to black, and the black short hair fluttered in the wind. At the same time, red hair quickly grew out from all parts of his body, surrounding his body, except for his chest and abdomen, which were still smooth and not covered by hair. And his entire body muscles surged at a speed visible to the naked eye, and each muscle was full of explosive power. The red tail swung flexibly, as if it was a spirit snake with independent consciousness. When the light gradually faded, Cheng Yu's powerful aura from primitive wildness was released without reservation like a mountain pressing down on his head. The powerful pressure instantly pressed Vegeta and Trunks to the ground. The two of them tried their best to resist this force, but found that they could not move at all. Vegeta was so shocked by the scene in front of him that he was speechless. After Cheng Yu completed the transformation of Super Saiyan 4, the majestic and vast aura was like a wild horse that ran away from its reins, rushing around wildly with him as the center. This powerful aura broke through the atmosphere without hindrance and spread directly to the depths of the deep and mysterious universe. On Earth, Cell, who was wreaking havoc, suddenly stopped. His ferocious face showed a look of confusion and vigilance, because he clearly sensed this earth-shaking aura, but he could not determine its source at all. And Son Gohan and Son Goku, who were training hard in the Spirit Time Chamber, also sensed this huge and shocking energy at the same time. Son Gohan's originally focused eyes suddenly became solemn, and beads of sweat unconsciously oozed from his forehead. Sun Wukong clenched his fists, his expression serious, and secretly wondered who the owner of this energy was. Cheng Yu saw that Trunks and Vegeta beside him had been crushed to the ground by his aura, so he directly contacted the transformation, and then spoke again. Do you still have the dignity of a Saiyan prince? You should know that you can't even master the true power of a Saiyan, so what are you? So our Saiyan prince still needs to practice. After the huge impact brought by Cheng Yu's shocking transformation, Vegeta was like being hit hard in the heart by a heavy hammer. He finally realized very clearly the insurmountable gap between himself and Cheng Yu. In the next 2 days, Vegeta seemed to have changed. He was silent, and the proud and conceited words in the past never came out of his mouth again. He stayed alone in the Temple of Heaven, devoting himself to serious practice. Perhaps it was Cheng Yu's ruthless and hurtful words that cut his self-esteem like a sharp blade, making him wake up from a dream, or perhaps it was the destructive power shown by Cheng Yu when he transformed, like a heavy mountain, which made him almost breathless and completely shattered his former pride. But no matter what the reason is, Vegeta has made up his mind to use his own efforts and sweat to make up for the huge gap and regain his dignity and glory. At this critical moment, the father and son, Son Goku and Son Gohan, who attracted much attention from everyone, finally walked out of the spiritual time house full of mystery and unknown challenges side by side. As soon as they appeared, they attracted everyone's attention. What was shocking was that this pair of father and son actually maintained the full power transformation state of Super Saiyan from beginning to end. They were emitting a strong golden aura, their hair stood up, shining with bright golden light, and their eyes revealed firmness and courage. The powerful aura made the air around them seem to become heavy. So, everyone in the Heavenly God Temple quickly gathered in front of Son Goku with full curiosity and doubts. Everyone's face was full of confusion, and they asked in a flurry, Wukong, why do you keep this transformation form? Everyone's eyes were full of expectations, and they were eager to get an answer from Son Goku. Son Wukong looked calm. He first raised his head slightly and looked into the distance with deep eyes, as if thinking about something. Then, He slowly turned his head, looked at everyone with a firm gaze, and explained slowly, "Everyone, our current practice has encountered a bottleneck and we cannot break through to the next stage of Super Saiyan for the time being. However, we cannot stagnate because of this. In this case, practicing Super Saiyan 1 to the extreme is the best choice at the moment. By maintaining this transformation state for a long time, our bodies can better adapt to the power of Super Saiyan, so that we can use it more freely in battle and exert stronger strength." Sun Wukong's explanation made everyone fall into deep thought. Everyone began to savor his words carefully and gradually understood the deep meaning. Vegeta stood aside, nodded thoughtfully, and a trace of admiration flashed in his eyes. He knew that Sun Wukong's idea was wise. This spirit of constantly pursuing the extreme was the key to their continuous self-transcendence in battle. Trunks clenched his fists and secretly made up his mind to practice and improve his strength like Sun Wukong and Sun Wuhan. Others were also inspired and enlightened by Sun Wukong's words. They understood that when facing difficulties and challenges, they should not give up easily, but try their best to tap their potential and maximize their existing abilities. At this time, the atmosphere in the heavenly temple became particularly solemn and full of hope. Everyone was determined to face the challenges of the future for a stronger power and to protect the peace of the earth. At this time, Piccolo took a firm step and took the initiative to walk towards the Spirit Time Room. At this time, Cheng Yu saw Piccolo's move and instantly had an idea in his mind. Cheng Yu walked up quickly and proposed to everyone, "Let Piccolo and I go into the Spirit Time Room to practice first." His eyes were full of confidence and determination, and his voice was sonorous and powerful. Everyone was surprised when they heard Cheng Yu's proposal. Cheng Yu looked calm and continued, "Don't worry, when Piccolo comes out, I will definitely surprise you." His words revealed an unquestionable certainty, as if he had already seen the shocking results in the future. Everyone looked at each other, and after a brief silence, they finally chose to believe Cheng Yu. Piccolo looked at Cheng Yu and nodded slightly, and the two walked into the Spirit Time House together. The mysterious door slowly closed, and everyone was looking forward to and curious about the surprises they would bring when they returned. Just after entering the Spirit Time House, this space full of mystery and unknown, the flow of time is completely different from the outside world. Cheng Yu did not as expected, he immediately engaged in intensive training with Piccolo, but stared at Piccolo with a look of curiosity and inquiry, and solemnly asked a thought-provoking question, "Piccolo, why do you want to have powerful power?" The moment Piccolo heard this question, he seemed to be cast under a spell and stood still. His eyes became a little blurry, and his thoughts seemed to be suddenly dragged back to the distant past by this simple question. Those ambitions, desires, struggles and changes in the past, like old paintings, slowly unfolded in his mind. After a long time, Piccolo slowly broke free from the vortex of memories. He took a deep breath, and his eyes became deep and distant, as if he wanted to see through the walls of this spiritual time house and see those past years. He slowly said, "Cheng Yu, do you know? At first, when I was born into this world, my heart was full of hatred and ambition. I regarded Sun Wukong as my biggest enemy. I longed to have a powerful force that no one could match, just to be able to defeat him, and then use this power to rule the earth. At that time, there was only power and desire in my world. I thought that as long as I had absolute power, I could control everything." Bick paused and continued, "But in the days that followed, I experienced countless battles with everyone and faced one powerful enemy after another. In this process, I gradually discovered that these people around me have their own persistence and beliefs, and have a deep love for the earth and their partners. We fought side by side and worked together for a common goal. I began to feel the power of the team and the friendship. The preciousness of love and trust." Quote. Later, as time went by, my pursuit of power took on a whole new meaning. I was no longer just pursuing my own selfish desires, but to protect the earth where we live together and to protect those I care about. Every time I faced the threat of the enemy and every time I saw the earth in crisis, I became more determined in my belief. Today, the enemies we face are getting stronger and stronger, and the situation is getting more and more serious. I know that only with more powerful power can we hope to defeat the evil forces that are trying to destroy our homeland. So now I want to have powerful power to protect the earth, to protect my hometown where I was born and raised, and to protect those I love and those who love me." Quote. Cheng Yu listened quietly to Piccolo's answer. There was no initial curiosity in his eyes, but deep thinking and admiration instead. He nodded thoughtfully, as if he had realized some truths about power, responsibility, and faith in Piccolo's words. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and support our channel.